Coming to you live from my apartment, it's Rob Has a Podcast. And now here's a guy who always podcasts with gumption. I am Rob Cesternino. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Feedback Show. I'm so pumped up for this one. Could not be more excited because I have the great pleasure to get to talk Survivor with one of the top Survivor minds around. Of course, you know him from his many podcast works, including the Survivor B&B, many credits on post-show recaps, including the soon-to-be concluded Down the Hatch podcast. Please welcome from Parade.com, my great friend, Mike Bloom. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing well, Rob. I'm assuming with the announcement of me coming on here, a lot of four-letter words popped up in people's heads, much like Ricard. Some of them good, some of them bad, some not safe for work. But here I am. Here is another four-letter word.
Yes. Mike, have we not gotten to speak about the season at all throughout this? Like we did so much preseason content together.
I know. We did so much together. It was like you and I had this day one bond. We got separated to these other islands and we just never came back together until
we came back together now. Oh boy, this is going to be so fun because I, of course, love getting to hear you talk about the show on the B&B. But, you know, this is so fun for me to get to talk to you now. And we're going to take some feedback questions. Fun week to talk about the show, I think.
I think it was a very solid week, I would say. I don't think we have necessarily hit the highs that the Shan episode was, though I think that will be tough to match. That is one of my favorite episodes of Survivor that I've seen in quite some time.
An all-timer.
But I think that it was a very... I don't want to use the term straightforward because I think straightforward sort of has a negative connotation to it. But I think from a production perspective, I enjoyed how straightforward it was. You know, Survivor 41 really is the box of chocolate season. I apologize in advance to Deshawn for using a candy metaphor.
I thought you were going to say that you also wanted to make metaphors with gumption.
Yes, that's very true. Forrest gumption.
Yes.
Yeah, like a feather blowing in the wind. That's what this season has been. No, I mean, it truly does feel like we never knew what we were going to get every week on Survivor 41. Right? Like, just because of the
and Lieutenant Danny got voted out this week.
Exactly. But he's got plenty of legs. He's running rugby, so he's doing fine. He's eating ice cream probably in a happier manner than Lieutenant Dan did. But
yeah, is shrimp Xander candy?
No, is that paleo? I'm not sure.
I think so. I mean,
do you think Xander could go to Bubba Gump's if he makes a trip to Times Square?
Yeah. Is fish meat? I don't know. Let's not explode. I'm sorry, Mike. I'm so rudely interrupting the point you're trying to make.
It's fine. Listen, we're getting into the Lent culture of it all, which I'm sure people came for, right? Of is fish meat? We're getting close to Friday, so that's the main point of conversation. It does feel like there was this element of the unknown for a lot of us. I mean, talk about the fact that when you and I were speaking last time, Rob, we're like, this shot in the dark thing, I don't know how it works. It sounds interesting. Listen, by the end of the season, I think we're still questioning how the shot in the dark works, but we're slightly more filled in about the subject matter. But it really does seem like Survivor 41, the things they were throwing in there, you truly never knew what the episode would be. Sometimes it's like the Brad Boot episode where it was just so focused on all these new places and people and interactions and advantages, and then someone gets voted out. And then you have an episode like this where like the advantages get passed over and it's all about just like pure strategy and social relationships. And so it really has run the gamut in that regard. And it has been one of the most fascinating seasons I think we have taken in quite some time as Survivor fans, because I think there really is that organic feeling of, I have no idea what the show or these contestants have prepared for us next.
Okay, we have our big 3-hour block of Survivor coming up on Wednesday night. So we will preview the finale and what we might see on our TVs on Wednesday night. I still have a lot of podcasting to do. Of course, we're doing things out of order. It's a twist week because we're talking to Mike Bloom first here on the Feedback Show. Here, we're recording this on Thursday night. And then on Saturday, I'm going to have our Survivor interview. I'm going to recap everything going on with Dom Abbate. So very excited for that on Saturday. We will have on Monday night, we will have Kirsten McInnes joining us on the Survivor 41 patron Q&A. We'll take your calls about what's coming in the finale. And coming up on Tuesday night, we have another real treat. Jordan Kalish is going to be back for finale trivia live with the patrons of RHAP as a podcast. That was very fun. Mike, were you participating the last time we did it?
I did not. I would love to, because allow me to be frank, I think I could whoop your ass at Timbuktu and back, Rob, when it comes to Survivor trivia.
Wow.
So I love to be able to show my stripes. Perhaps I'll get the opportunity to do that.
Oh, Mike, those are fighting words.
I know. Listen, let me throw down the gauntlet. Let me drop this truth bomb and see if it goes off. This is a really fun week. I'm excited that in honor of Danny, we are reversing the outcome of things. I'm sure he's really proud of that as well. And when you approached me about doing this earlier, I did what a lot of the cast of Ghost Island did. I said yes to helping Dom Abbate out. And so I just feel very akin with that cast.
Yes. All right, Mike, let's talk a little bit about, you and I both had the pleasure of speaking with Danny this morning. I posted my podcast earlier. You posted your interview from parade.com. Let's just talk a little bit about Danny and some of the things that we found out today.
Yeah, this was a big one. And let me just say, let me continue to beat this drum, put out a take that is as cold as the ice cream in Danny's hands in Ponderosa, that this is an incredible group of people. I think you and I had a sense of this in the preseason when we were listening along, but I don't think we really got a sense of the magic that these people would bring, this loony group of players, when they actually, their feet hit the sand. And Danny is no different. Danny revealed specifically a lot of things not shown on screen that I think give a different perspective as to the finalists specifically, and maybe their chances of possibly winning at the end that I'm sure we're going to break down. It was a really fun chat with, let me just come out and say, Rob, I think maybe one of the best players of the season.
Okay. I don't think you'll get too much argument. I feel like that I was slower to get on the Danny bandwagon, not in terms of him being a good guy, but I didn't see a lot of game coming from him. But I think that he really, where Deshawn kind of criticized that Danny didn't have as much of a social game as Danny did. I think that Danny might have actually been the master of the social game more so than Deshawn.
Yeah, it's really interesting because honestly, hearing more about Danny and Deshawn's relationship, the first thing I thought of was Tony and Trish. I think Danny was Deshawn's Trish. Because it does sound like, and look, we have certainly seen some moments where Deshawn flew off the handle and maybe went down some avenues of big moves to make. It seemed like Danny was always the one to kind of bring him back to center, right? And so I think it also comes from his personality. He does seem like this natural, calming, down-to-earth presence. And I think the more I thought about it, the more I could really sense that relationship happening, that Deshawn is the more out there person, but he's a bit flightier and willing to make more risks. And it's not that Danny isn't willing to go along with that, but I think he is the one to be a bit more sensible and be like, take a step back. Let's make up with the people you just yelled at, and then we can move forward. And I think looking at that really made me appreciate his game more, because I agree, and I do not begrudge you whatsoever for saying I was late on coming onto his game, because we didn't see a lot of his game. Yeah, to be completely honest, I think that's due in part to the fact that Deshawn might be better at sound bites, and so it makes sense to sort of give him the mouthpiece of the partnership. We see that a lot in Survivor Vanuatu, right, with Amy and Leanne, where apparently Leanne bore a lot more weight in that partnership, but because Amy, I think, had more of a TV presence, she got a lot more content as a result. But, when it comes to modern Survivor, I think a facet I'm appreciating more and more when analyzing a player is consistency, less adaptability. You would think you should catch all the boomerangs being thrown your way, though they inevitably come back. Isn't that a thing you should really value in a Survivor player? But honestly, no, I like the people that are able to stay the course and able to navigate really rough waters by just keeping a calm head and a calm sense of relationships. And it honestly does seem like Danny did that. Unfortunately, I think to the detriment of his TV time.
I think that Danny, and he mentioned this in his exit interview with me, that he had like really authentic conversations with people and like made people feel really good about him. I had asked him that, why do you think that you were able to avoid being a target for so much of the game when you were, such an obvious, physical threat in the challenges. And I think this speaks to something that we've certainly covered a lot over the years, and but probably more in regards to female survivor players, who like haven't been given their due sort of in the edit, where Survivor really has a hard time of capturing the social game. And so when you have somebody, I can remember like Kara Kay in David versus Goliath, with somebody like this who, had a really good social game. Even Mike White with somebody else, a really good social game, but it's hard to capture that on the it's not always like exciting television. So we see a lot of strategy on the show. We see people like when they're like talking crap about another person, but when people are having like really like good conversations and people walk away like feeling really positively about another person, we almost never see those conversations in the show.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because especially the way that they framed personal content this season, it was very much done almost in like a solo narrative format, right? It was people talking at the camera about those stories. And while I am incredibly grateful for that because it is quite literally better than nothing, it sort of feels less authentic compared to, I think, how that personal content can come out of just like sitting down and talking about it. Right? Like how last episode, not this one, but the past one, Danny's sitting Deshawn down and talking about this being the anniversary of his father's death. Like that is a natural way to get that personal content out and also bring in a bit of that social game that intrinsically shows the value of Danny and Deshawn's relationships, shows that connection that they made. There have been times when that has happened, right? Like I remember I don't think it was the premiere, but maybe like the second episode of Island of the Idols, there was that entire montage of like Tommy almost robotically going through each and every person on his tribe and like connecting with them. And that's great to see when we get it. But I feel like that's still, even 21 years in, is still something that needs to be unlocked in the Survivor edit, is like fluidly showing how well liked someone can be out there on the island. Because as we're about to get to, I think from another key piece from our interviews, people that are considered well liked, I think, to the fan community are not that well liked or maybe well respected out there on the island. Yeah. And I think not showing the social game is a key component of that.
All right, well, let's play a voicemail, and here's one that sets up what you're talking about. Let's check in with our good friend. Greg Dunlap has a question regarding some of the things that we learned from Danny's exit press today. Here's Greg.
Hey, Robin, Mike. Here I wanted to talk about Xander. I keep seeing people asking why they don't flush his idol. And to me, that really seems like an indication that they don't consider him a threat to win. Like it's almost like everybody considers Xander a GOAT. And I feel like there's some sense in that. He's been on the wrong side of the vote quite a bit. He has bumbled a lot of his advantage plays, like his extra vote play, and arguably his not playing his idol for Evie. If you look at the jury, like Evie and Tiffany probably are kind of pissed at him. I kind of feel like they're, view Xander as a GOAT. And I'm curious what you all think about that. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Danny came out today and in his exit press, more or less, I feel like told me, told you, told Tom Ross that Xander cannot win the game.
Yeah. I mean, let's go back to the game within a game. I saw a picture of a goat. I saw a picture of an alley. I think Xander's up goat alley at this point, which is a little surprising, I think, to a lot of people, given the way that people had viewed his narrative. They had believed like, oh, yeah, this dude's got it, right? Like he has the underdog built in. We keep going back to him. And yeah, I know that some people feel like exit press getting opinions from the jurors might sort of spoil the outcome. And I can see why in this regard, because now I can't viably see a situation where this guy would take it, given the sort of the opinions about him that Danny's inferring.
Yeah. So, Mike, do you have do you have a quote specifically from Danny from your exit press? Because I'm
So
trying to find
let me see. Let me pull something from Dalton's interview, actually.
yeah, I think that he had the more viral quote that was going around, but
Yeah, so I'll read it here. So basically, he asked what you asked and what I asked as well, of like, hey, why aren't you voting for Xander? And we should also point out here that, we got the question answered that you talked about on Know-It-Alls yesterday. Both you and I asked, did you and Deshawn think about teaming up and possibly bringing in another person? It seemed like due to his relationship with Xander, Danny thought the only alternative was like to go to Xander to try to vote out Heather. Which I do think the fandom may have wanted by the end of last night's episode, because he thought like he could sort of go forward with the strategy, right, of like, hey, there's a lot of strong challenge competitors left except one of us. Maybe if we got rid of that one person, then it really is a 4v1 situation and we can take down Ricard.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so the question is like, Xander has an idol. Why did you not go for him, or at least try to flesh out the idol, in a manner of speaking? This is what Danny had to say. If you watch the jury and you hear what people say about him, a lot of people did not respect the game that he was playing. A lot of people thought that when he stepped out of the challenges that it was for show and it wasn't because he really cared. So as the game goes on, you're like, this guy is not an issue. Why are we worried about the idol? A lot of people want to go sit at the end with Xander so they can explain how they played a better game than he did. So it just became a non-issue, which is why I went to him and said, hey, we need to vote out Heather. We never thought about voting Xander at this last tribal council because he's a good guy to take to the end, and he can also help us beat Ricard.
Mm-hmm.
So it would have worked out for us 2 times. So yeah, I think what people were proposing that they did to Heather, yourself included, last night, right, considering her, I think, an audience goat, it seems more like Danny did take that strategy, but the GOAT target was placed differently, this time on Xander.
Yeah, so this is really fascinating to me because I had been, while I was a little bit like, I don't always see it with Xander. Like he's done some things in the game, but I felt like that he was somebody who, I don't like to do a lot of the edit reading, but it felt like I could have seen him winning the season. And if Danny is to be believed here, and he is representing the viewpoints of other jurors in the season, and you take Xander off the board potentially, this finale Wednesday night is especially fascinating because I think that then you're down to only 3 potential people that could win this game. Could Ricard pull it off?
Mm-hmm.
Could Deshawn ultimately pull out of this nosedive and get the win? Or does Erika fulfill the prophecy of going from the lamb to the full-fledged lion and becoming the woman winner that we have been missing on Survivor since Survivor Game Changers?
Well, then the additional wrinkle onto that is the fact that Xander holds an immense amount of power next episode as well. As was mentioned, he still has this idol that will absolutely be played at the final 5 either way. I think the dude either plays it on himself, or wins immunity and, pulls like a Wendell and plays it on somebody else instead. So it's so interesting. Obviously we talk a lot about how sometimes the goats become the kingmakers in a manner of speaking, but like he sort of is the king goat at this point, if that's the case, that this is someone that everyone wants to work with at the end. And in doing that, he really does have a huge amount of power in these final rounds of the game because of the advantages he possesses.
Now, Mike, let me just posit another theory, and you tell me if you think that this is all viable. Like, could Danny have been speaking? Because that you almost never hear somebody in the exit press like say, he likes Xander. They had a close relationship. He's a good guy, but in terms of like being a winner that people would respect, that was not how people were looking at Xander. That is why people were not considering him to be, a viable winner of the game. But is it possible that in these final rounds, could Xander basically like light the world on fire over these last couple of rounds. And while Danny is saying, yeah, on day 23, we weren't looking at Xander as somebody to worry about. But boy, did that kid have a hell of a final 3 days and completely turned my opinion around.
You saying Xander's going to Underwood it? Is that what you're saying, Rob?
I mean, is that possible? Do you feel like is that interpretation out there of what Danny had to say today?
All right, let me check Kickstarter just to make sure if there's any projects that Xander's working on at the moment. I mean, it's interesting in that it could certainly be phrased in a way of, I think one of the reasons why a lot of people felt and feel that Xander has a viable case to win is because of his story, right? I was gonna be booted right there at that tribal council, but Liana tried to steal what was mine, but I blocked her at the end of the day. I had all my allies taken out, and I made it to the end. People have won with those narratives previously. It's not unheard of that he could certainly do that. And so I do think, depending on who he's sitting against, he could certainly phrase things in a way. And especially, I think he has to claim some propriety in the game. And that could come through a final couple days as well, right? Like if he wins immunity and he plays an idol on Ricard, and then he wins immunity the next day and sends Ricard into fire, like if he does all these things that could make him feel like these moves were mine and mine alone, like he was claiming to do in every first scene of the past few episodes, that could certainly help. But it is working a bit against a mountain. It's just so interesting from Danny's perspective, because maybe one of the reasons I'm realizing now why we saw so much of Xander is I know he complimented Deshawn's eloquence at the previous tribal council. I think Xander is incredibly well-spoken as well. His voice is very lulling. The X is not for Xander. It should be for Xanax because he's very calming and soothing. I do wonder if it's a matter of just like the producers liked going to him for sound bites, and that's why we saw so much of him rather than him being a viable winner candidate.
I mean, he did have some, quality confessionals talking about, betrayed-ar and little things that he ended up getting into the show. And so maybe that is a reason why they ended up going to him. Also, Survivor has a long track record. And while they have a very diverse cast, I think that they also have a long track record of sort of okay, well, it's still Survivor. We still need our golden boy.
I was going to say, let's go through the checklist.
Matinee idol.
Tall, it's like slightly medium length hair. All right, you fit the bill, kid. Step on through.
Yeah. We're not throwing away the baby with the bathwater.
Yeah, exactly. Like, drop the baby, keep the bathwater.
Yeah. So, I guess that for Xander to win, does he then Ricard? Let's say Ricard wins immunity at the final 5. Xander wins the final 4 immunity challenge. Says, Jeff, I have to put myself into the fire, and I'm Ricard, come with me. And he takes on Ricard and beats Ricard in the final 4 fire making. I don't know. Say he's with Erika and Heather at that point.
Yeah. I mean, there's certainly an argument he could make, but I think at this point, it really would be, you know what it's comparable to? It's really comparable to Dean at this moment.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons why, the answer as to why do people not care about flushing his idol is because they feel like he doesn't really need to play it. And in that sort of loses its power, right? Like we were watching the Island of the Idols finale and Dean's like, look at this, look at this, look at this. And they're like, that's great, but you didn't really need it. So they're worthless tchotchkes, right? Like you can show off your beautiful Lexus in the garage, but if you never take it out for a spin, nobody gives a crap about your car.
So if the final 3 in that scenario that I outlined, Deshawn goes out at 5, that Xander wins immunity, beats Ricard at fire. Jury loves that. And, kind of feel like, we've seen it now. All right. How many times do we need this? So Xander wins his way, knocks out Ricard, goes into the final 3. Do you think he beats Erika in that case? I'm trying to put together the coalition for him because I think that he needs 5 votes to win there because
we're at 8. We're at 8.
We're at 8. And if it's a 4-4 tie, who's breaking the tie? It's Erika.
Heather.
So, sorry, it's Heather. So Heather, Erika could win the game with 4 votes.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think, going down the line, Tiffany, again, if we're reading into her exit press,
Right.
does not have the softest words for Xander, feeling like he essentially was the one to screw Yasa over after they had just worked together. I would say that Evie might have a chance of voting for him. The game respects game value, but I think they seemed fairly disappointed with what Xander did, specifically not playing the idol on them. I'm trying to think. It seems like Danny is also someone that obviously wouldn't vote for him.
Right. And so in my mind, that for Xander to win, I felt like that, okay, well, probably this like coalition of Xander votes probably was going to include Danny. That I thought that like, okay, for maybe Ricard feels like, okay, game respects game. You beat me, you knocked me out. I'll give you my vote. Maybe Nasir is a Xander vote. And I thought that maybe like Danny and Deshawn, like maybe some of the guys he had good relationships with, and they voted for him. But it's hard to see how he gets to 5.
Yeah,
unless that there is some animosity towards Erika that we didn't see. Some of the play, like for instance, like Shan, who didn't really ever trust Erika, doesn't feels like is feeling like Erika, what did you do?
I think this is how Xander wins. Because I think something that is unfortunately also working against him is age, right? He is the last 20-year-old player left in the game. It is a heck of a week to invoke this person's name, but Spencer Bledsoe experienced a very similar thing in Survivor Cambodia, right? Not to say that the makeup of the jury is similar.
Yes.
But I think
he too was not inoculated against this.
Exactly. Very virulent jury against it. So, this idea of...
Although he did have immunity a few times during Survivor.
Yes, and also begged to be immunized at a certain point too. But I think this idea of, sort of looking at the optics of it, some people might not want to give the money to a 20-year-old kid. Now, Rob, you were part of a season that did in a certain case, but some people aren't necessarily like that. And I do wonder if Xander's perception of that doesn't help.
I mean, in fairness, I was 24.
Exactly.
It wasn't like I'm not giving money to a baby.
Imagine all right, 3-year-old. Well, I don't want. What are you going to waste this money on? Animal crackers and milk? Get a 401k, Todd. So I think that there is something to this idea, though, of do people want to necessarily give the money to someone who's like half your age? So here's what Xander needs to do. He needs to stand up and he needs to say, I have a secret for you all. It's been something I've kept in my very nice warm sweater for the entirety of 2016.
Yeah, great sweater.
It's a freaking amazing sweater.
Yeah.
It is it's something out of Patagonia. And I believe he's also brought it onto his Instagram as well. He really is model ready in so many ways.
Yeah.
He really is. Xander might be one of the most camera ready contestants I've ever seen on Survivor. That dude cannot look bad at all.
If I got that for Christmas, I would be like, oh, this is very nice.
Yeah, exactly. Derek X hoodie, move over. I want the Xander sweater personally under my tree. But I think that Xander needs to stand up with that sweater on, maybe to prevent more of an older look and be like, all right, my name is Xander Hastings. I'm from Chicago. I'm 55 years old. That's right. I'm a foreman in a factory, a glass factory. I pretended I was a 20-year-old this entire time. I Benjamin buttoned you just so I could be underestimated. You all believed me. You thought age was just a number, but I have more life skills than all you jamokes put together.
It was obvious. They gave me a chance to have candy. I passed. I just wanted plain chicken and broccoli.
Do you remember when I went on and on about beef stew?
The clues were there.
You had all the clues, Mr. Policeman, Mr. Probst. They were all there. You could have solved my myth. That was the game within the game. Was how old is Xander? If you unscramble the letters, you get Xander's birth certificate.
That was it. That was it the whole time. So yeah, I just think that this whole revelation today of that Xander can't win has just been completely turned my predictions for the finale completely on its head, and now has shifted them into but can he turn it around?
I could certainly see a part where he makes the finale. I really am looking at the chicken alliance, as it were. Damn.
Like what you said about chicken.
Exactly. Yeah, maybe that's the thing as well. He loves repeating phrases, much like the older generations too. Of like, oh yes, the butterflies are dead relatives saying hi. Much like all those people I put in the ground from the war.
People I put in the ground from the war.
It's old Xander showing his stripes in so many ways.
I mean, Xander Hastings kind of sounds like an old man name, like old Xander Hastings.
Yeah, I think if you rearrange the letters, you get like Werther's original, please. It's his actual
Happy
name.
birthday to Xander Hastings, who turns 110 today. Happy birthday, Xander Hastings.
Are you quoting that guy from the Today Show who from the Smucker's Jelly sponsored ads?
Willard Scott.
Yeah, I almost called him R.I.P. But I knew that was wrong.
Yeah.
But so I think there is a chance that there is some meat on the bone with Chicken Alliance.
I like what you said about meat.
With the final three. But I wonder, in that case, could we possibly then get like Erika versus Deshawn? Like, could Xander be our surprising no vote finalist in a way that like, what I really make a lot of comparisons to with this Chicken Alliance was, Rob, when you and I came on for the penultimate episode of Survivor 35, it was actually a very strikingly similar situation of
because instead of Ben bombs, there were truth bombs today.
I don't know why I come on with all the bomb-filled episodes. What does that say about me? I'm bombastic in many ways, I suppose. But this idea of this alliance of three that was formed on a reward challenge, right? And was like, okay, it's us three to the end. And like those three did stick together, right? They voted out Dr. Mike. I could, like, there's a reason why we saw it. I could see a situation where those three do make the final three, but Xander surprisingly gets shut out, right? That like he starts speaking and we're waiting for everyone to be like, oh, that's awesome. And then they all just openly laugh at him, being like, nah, Xander, you don't have a chance. Almost like what they did with Ryan in the Triple H finale too, right? Just the Desi being like, I'm going to stop you right there, Xander. Sorry, no, bro. Sorry. Just sit there and look pretty as you do for the cameras. But like, this is between the other two.
Mike, I want to go and talk about Danny's trip to Ponderosa. Of course, the Ponderosa this season has been, very strong as per usual. And of course, if you haven't seen Danny's Ponderosa, lots of good stuff there.
And it is up promptly.
For the first time in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I would say that those working behind the scenes of that CBS social media pages might have like rolled out of bed a bit late on certain things. But yeah, Danny's was up, promptly on Thursday, which was very exciting. I also have to sort of like push back against what you said. I think the Ponderosas are on a level above many that we have seen in the past. And I think it's just the level of the magnetic personalities that exist in this cast. But I can't think of the last season where every single week of a Ponderosa felt incredibly fun. I think Survivor 36 had like the couple weeks of, it was so much fun when Chris Noble did the infamous Ponderosa rap. And like, I remember Jenna and Michael Yerger doing like a perfume commercial or something. So those were some fun moments, but it really does seem like the baseball team that is the Survivor 41 Bad News Bears have been hitting home runs basically each and every week with their Ponderosas.
Mike, we got some new information between the exit press today from Danny, and then also we got to see the conversation between Shan and Danny about, why exactly the Black Alliance ended up falling apart. There was some respectful discussion back and forth between Danny and Shan about that. Did you have any different takeaways from how this all came together?
Yeah, so let's do a bit of a TLDR on this, because what we saw on the show was Danny and Deshawn come up with this idea to get rid of Ricard. They approach Liana, and the implication is we can get Shan involved because she'll fly off the handle. Liana tells Shan, and it goes to pandemonium. What actually happened, according to Danny, was during that conversation with the trio, Danny said, okay, this is awesome. I'm going to go run this by Shan to see if she'd be in for it. So the whole let's keep Shan out of the plan thing was completely fabricated. Apparently, Danny did go to Shan. Shan probably begrudgingly approved of the choice to go after Ricard. Yeah. And then everything went to hell in a handbasket when Liana subsequently approached Shan and seemed to imply, oh no, the plan was actually to keep you out of the loop.
Yeah, and I got this in my exit press with Shan that I had asked her about how this had gone down, and she had said that Liana said to her that the guys are coming for you and Ricard, and so that it was Shan's understanding that they were targeting her and felt like it was on based off of the telephone game between Danny and Deshawn to Liana, and then from Liana to Shan.
Yeah, it's coconut phone at that. And it just shows, again, how much information is currency in this game. And I think in this case, I think Liana accidentally copied a few dollar bills, right? And tried to pass it off as currency without realizing it, of like, yeah, this is what they intended to do, when really it wasn't. But I think it again shows the strengths of Danny, knowing, okay, like Deshawn, here comes Deshawn with the cutthroat mentality of, oh yeah, it doesn't matter if Shan's involved because she has nowhere to go to anyway. And here's Danny being like, let me tell her ahead of time because I feel like we owe her at least that honor, as it were. And so I think it's a really interesting rink and all that. It's almost very Shakespearean as well, like Romeo and Juliet, that things got sort of mixed up in translation, as it were. And I think it also makes sense as to why Shan specifically, calls out Deshawn as a snake then instead of Danny. If Danny sort of did her the service of, being able to give her the heads up ahead of time, then I think that earns a lot more favor in her book than Deshawn, which again leads to my question. I think, we're marinating on this a little earlier than 24 hours.
I like what you said about marinade.
This a nice brisket, aged finally, like me, Xander. This is my real voice.
You gotta risk it to get the brisket.
Exactly. That deep voice thing. Nope. This is my real voice. I went extra.
Future me.
Yeah, exactly. I think that. I think that it really makes you wonder. And you talked about this a bit last night on Know It Alls. Looking back on it, do you think booting Danny was the right decision over Deshawn?
So I guess you have to take with all these Survivor decisions, it's like it's different for different people. Like for Erika, it was clearly the right decision to vote out Danny. Danny talked about that in his exit press and all his interviews today about how Sydney was his person. That Deshawn's job was to sort of keep an eye on Erika and Heather. It just so happens Erika and Heather made it to the end game. Sydney was gone. So when Erika and Heather sort of are able to put their thumb on a scale, they're saying like, yeah, we want to keep Deshawn around over Danny. It's interesting to me that Ricard seemingly lost out here, where it seems like that Ricard would have preferred to vote Deshawn out of the game. Now, I don't know if going back to last week with Xander's extra vote, I had sort of wondered, did Xander say like, hey, I'm playing my extra vote, Erika, and that's why it doesn't sound like that happened. Did Erika potentially this week say, hey, look, I'm the swing vote here. I get to pick.
So here's the thing. I actually think this was good for all parties, Deshawn included, obviously, but I actually think it was a blessing in disguise that Deshawn ends up getting rid of Danny, because I think my hot take is, I think if Danny and Deshawn are sitting in the end, I think Danny beats Deshawn.
I don't think that's a hot take. Based on what we've seen, like that would have been a hot take, I think 4 or 5 weeks ago. But based on what we've heard from the exit press, I think that's 100%. I would agree with that.
Yeah, because I think Danny can essentially come forward and say, I made all the same moves as Deshawn, but I did not piss you off. Mm-hmm. That's a win-win in my book. But I think specifically from Ricard and Xander's position, especially from Xander's, considering what Danny just said about him, I think they benefited from keeping Deshawn around, because Rob, last night, Deshawn showed his whole ass at Tribal Council.
Yes, no, I agree with that part. I don't think that was part of the decision. I think that for Ricard, I think you could also argue that he may not have minded that it was Danny who went out over Deshawn, because I think that Ricard might feel like, hey, there's nothing that Deshawn can beat me at. Danny could, just completely, dominate an athletic challenge in a way that Ricard might not be able to, where, sometimes they have and we saw Ricard ended up winning this competition, but if it's a big obstacle course that Danny may be able to I think that it's not unfair to say he has the most pure power of anybody that's left in the game.
Yeah, it's the most horsepower, I think, out of everyone who's left.
Yeah, the puzzles have been the equalizer, though, where then Ricard has been like, just a, genius when it comes to solving these puzzles. So that Ricard's been able to make up time and ultimately win out there. But there is a scenario you could see where Danny is able to just, dominate, and maybe it's a table maze and Danny is able to win that out. It's hard to come up with the challenge that Deshawn I think he has similar skill sets than Ricard, and Ricard's been better.
Well, and I think, though you say that obviously the truth bomb had no bearing on the outcome, I would agree, but I think it's a microcosm of the way Ricard in particular views Deshawn. Let's go back to the beginning of the Liana Boot episode, where Ricard has this talk with Deshawn, and he has this confessional where he says, Deshawn confuses me. He's emotional. He blames a lot of people. He can't take ownership of the fact that he's all over the place, can't commit to one person, and doesn't really know what direction to go to have a good game. I mean, Ricard knows he can beat Deshawn in many, many ways. So I think it is not outside of the realm of possibility whatsoever that despite the fact that, he might, make more bonds with the other people, he's looking at Deshawn and he's like, this dude, even if he makes it to the end, might not be able to string enough a sentence together that doesn't piss people off.
Don't forget, Shan said, Ricard, you have my vote for the $1 million. D, you're a snake. So I think that he probably feels good about potentially going to the end. If he hypothetically did sit in the end with Deshawn. I was just going off of that Ricard in the episode last night seemed to express a desire to get rid of Deshawn more than Danny. But I think that we've had some good points as to why it does make sense for Ricard for wanting to have Danny gone over Deshawn. For Xander, I think this was definitely not a point for Xander, because Xander seemed to, although he did, I guess that he did have the reward.
Disagree. He made a final three. I don't think he had a final three with Danny. In fact, he stabbed Danny in the back. And I think that's a relationship he wanted to sort of bring out of there. But I think that I think that they all sort of have this view of Deshawn, and they were able to really exemplify that to the jury as well. Like, they were able, I really give it up to these four for being able to essentially pants Deshawn in front of everyone by having him go through this whole rigmarole, have him try to expose these things. And then Erika with the badass power move of being like, good job, buddy, but your reads were completely off. It's almost like Deshawn got to stay, but it was almost more embarrassing that he stayed instead of him going, because he made a prediction he was going to go, hedged his bets on all that, and then ended up being wrong. Yes, he survived, but at the same time, he very much, I think, exemplified how he might not have had the best reads on the game and sacrificed personal capital and honor.
Okay, Mike, so would you say, can Deshawn win the game?
I think he can, though. And in spite of all that, I think he can win. I mean, listen, I have been loving Deshawn the past few weeks because I think Shan took that mess torch since the very beginning, this garbage-filled Olympic torch of messy gameplay. And Deshawn said, there can only be one. And he grabbed that torch from her because he has been playing so incredibly entertainingly messy these past few weeks. And I would not say that mess does not make for a Survivor winner. Let me again go back to Survivor Triple H, where Ben Driebergen was not playing the cleanest game. He was actively angering jury members. He was sending people out of the game that were angry with him, and he still ends up winning. It really depends on how the jury feel about you on that given day and the narrative that you are able to bring. And for all the moments that Deshawn has, like that last Tribal Council, he has moments like the previous Tribal Council where I think he's really able to endear himself to people as well. He did a great job in episode 2 talking to us about his journey, about why this means so much to him, means so much to his family. Just imagine him bringing that on day 26 and having him come in and be like, at the merge, we made this, all Black alliance. It got taken out.
Yeah.
I'm the only one that's left. I scrape my way to the end. I think that there are certainly mistakes that he has made, a plentiful amount of them. But I'll make the comparison back to Tony. If you sit next to the right person and you vocalize things in the right way, and if you have your Trish there on the jury in the form of Danny speaking for you, I think that there still is an argument as to how he could pull off a messy win, but a win at that.
Mike, let me give you a theory. And I think that this is kind of a unifying theory of the season, if you'll allow it. So I would say that the 5 players left in the game are the 5 most self-interested players that are in the game.
Interesting.
Everyone that's here, and maybe save for Heather, who didn't really have the opportunities, but we don't really have a ton of evidence.
No. Remember when Heather stopped the entire Tiffany Tribal Council because she thought her name was being thrown out there?
That's true.
Self-interested to a T.
That's true. But the players that are all here were players that were all willing to throw allies under the bus to be able to. And I wonder if that is sort of like the premise of the season, where the game is the monster. Don't think about loyalties. It's all about do whatever it takes for you to survive to get to the next tribal council. Who are the people that are willing to do that?
Do or die, in a manner of speaking.
Do or die. That should have been the theme for the Survivor 41. Do or die.
Do or die. It kind of should have been it, but I completely agree. What makes this group of endgame players so just so invigorating to me is the fact that everyone is so flawed in a manner of speaking. In that, talking about the storytelling of it, it feels like you're looking at the past few seasons. I think you could look at Tommy, you could look at Tony and be like, there's a very good chance going into the finale. We've seen a pretty squeaky clean portrayal of them. There's a very good chance they're going to win the game because of that. All these people have either made very big mistakes, have been shown in a negative light, or both. And I think that's very fun because that's closer to reality on a reality show. And I really enjoy that. It makes it less predictable for us to predict the outcome. But I think it also shows, I completely agree with you, this do or die thing, but I think it also shows maybe a change in the paradigm of Survivor as well. Let me throw out my own unifying theory to add on to your theory, because I think Survivor has gotten to an incredibly meta level, right? We are quoting Reem and Gabby Pascuzzi in a season. Check that off your bingo card, Xander, because I know you're playing it down at the old folks' home. That because I would not have expected it.
Bingo, bango.
Like what you said about 05. But I think what's interesting is it seems to me a lot of the decisions this season have been questionable, but it's because it has been predicated on a lot of deep leveled thought with this idea of what I'd like to coin foreground targets and background targets. You take a picture of something, there's a subject in the foreground that we're sort of meant to pay attention to, and there's something in the background. And I think years and years and seasons of Survivor have taught us that in some cases, the background players are more dangerous than the foreground players. That yes, there might be high priority public enemy number 1 to pick off, but if you don't pick off that person in the back, they might be able to slip through and cut your throat and take advantage of a situation. And so you look to a number of questionable decisions throughout this, going all the way back to Voce versus Xander. I would say Xander was the foreground threat. Voce was the background threat. JD versus Jeannie. Jeannie was the foreground threat. JD was the background threat. Liana versus Ricard. We saw this firsthand last week. And even Danny versus Deshawn this week. I think a lot of us were shocked that Deshawn stayed because he was very much presented as the foreground threat. I think these players are, to quote Doc Brown, thinking fourth dimensionally. And not only are they thinking from a self-interested perspective, they're thinking also along the lines of I need to watch everybody. There might be goats, but there might be someone sneaking up behind me. So it's almost like I need to have eyes all around my head. I need to be like an owl in that regard.
The one thing that I have a hard time parsing there is how much of that is real and how much was the edit? How much, because the edit for years it's been this way on Survivor where it's okay, we're gonna tell you it's this person, throwaway line about this person, and then go back to the main person. But I do think that if for as because it's occurring on some level out there. I do think that the do or die ended up having a big effect in really. I mean, how many times this season did the person who was going home know they were the person going home? It almost didn't happen at all the entire season.
Yeah, and I wonder again if that's this mentality that has really been fostered in since Micronesia, honestly, right? To quote some Jamie Newton from Guatemala, blindsided, nice. Now that's how you vote somebody out, right? This idea of so many things exist in the game now to help out a player that's on the bottom that you can't make them feel like they need to play them, which is so interesting. And I think that's also contributed to we have been wealthfully blessed that none of these advantages have really majorly come into play. I think there's a lot of understandable praise on this season for the fact that really for the first time since like Survivor Co. Wrong, we have such a dearth of advantages that are played. But I think we were incredibly fortunate for that to happen because I think there was a very thin line between us being like advantage, scant of advantages and wealthy in advantages. I mean, remember, Brad was voted out with a vote steal and like an idol in waiting.
Right. That being said, Mike, that the final 5 vote, we could have like a borderline advantage getting where Xander has an idol. They're going to send them to a new island where they are going to potentially have another idol or advantage in play. Plus, we're going to have immunity. We could potentially end up with 3 players immune. And this might be an interesting, I guess, if 3 players are immune, then you can only vote for 2 players. Could we have then unless people are burning their votes on people, like we could have a wild Final 5 tribal council.
Yeah, because then in that case, is it like if people are playing it beforehand, then is it like, okay, you can only vote for these 2 people?
But the idols would get played after the vote. So you're probably not going to vote for Xander because he has an idol. And then if somebody ends up say Ricard ends up finding the idol or an advantage, like would they put their votes on Ricard and then there's like 1 vote from Ricard end up sending somebody home?
Yeah, it could very well be the case. I mean, that also brings up another point as well, which is, there might be one more big advantage that gets brought in, but I think we could sort of use this as an opportunity to maybe eulogize the season from a production perspective and the twists, right? And I feel like we have sort of been playing this song. We've been humming this song Shan style for 12 weeks. Yeah, but I think we could put like a crescendo on it and put an endpoint on it because I know I certainly have some thoughts about it.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, I think... I think creating a Survivor season, this is going to sound like so out of a Survivor confessional with these similes, but like creating a Survivor season is a lot like making a dish of food. I think it's this idea of bringing together...
It's like stew?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Xander, please get back in your walker. It's okay. But I think that it's this idea of not only bringing together elements from different things, different styles onto a plate with a variety, but you also need to make harmony. You need to make sure that they work together. I do not think from a twist perspective we had harmony this season. So that is to say that, was I like, did I not like any of the twists? I would not say that. I think that there are some interesting things that like had potential. The problem is they were then counteracted by other twists that very much like pulled the rug out from the first twist intentions.
Right. So this was less of a recipe as you are prescribing and more of for my friends in Western New York, more of the garbage plate.
Yeah. Exactly.
Let's put some mac and cheese in there, baked beans, a hamburger.
Yeah, there's a hell of a lot of going
fries,
on. Fries, yeah. Right. Yeah. Just throw everything onto
gravy.
So that's the thing is like, for example, starting with Tribes of 6 and keeping that through the pre-merge, really interesting idea. The shot in the dark, really interesting idea. But these things are like salmon and Swiss cheese. They're not working well together because I think we've realized in retrospect that when you're in a small tribe, when you're in small numbers, your vote has a monumentally increased inherent value than if you're on a bigger tribe. And so you're more likely to keep your vote over playing a shot in the dark.
See,
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say that actually doesn't bother me. The shot in the dark with the smaller because I feel like that. I don't think they necessarily want the shot in the dark to be played every single week. I think what they want to do is prevent there to be a 5-1 vote where the person in the 6 or a 4-1 vote, the person knows they're going home. And so that they want there to be intrigue with these smaller tribes. So I don't think that they necessarily, the goal is for people to be playing the shot in the dark more. I think they actually accomplished their goal in that the purpose of the shot in the dark was to make it so that people never play the shot in the dark.
That's interesting because I would disagree. I feel like when they create twists, they want the intention of creating that TV moment where something happens, right? They want like the slam dunk 5-1 vote against Jeannie, and Jeannie plays the shot in the dark, and she's the single-handed person to send them out. That's why I think.
But then
make
it a coin. Then make it a coin flip. Like make the odds better than 16%. It's almost like that. It was just enough to like, hey, oh, we got to keep it a blind side, but never enough where that it was like you had people playing it a lot.
And that's the interesting thing as well, going back to your do or die point. I think that also fostered this idea of a blind side in people's eyes as well, of like, well, usually in the tribal phase, sometimes we let people know they're going ahead of time. Now we can't, because now they can pull a dice out of a sack or whatever they end up doing and declare themselves safe. So it almost like further engenders this culture of blindsides. But maybe as a better example, let's bring up knowledge is power. Interesting. It's a really interesting advantage check. But if it's on a season where there are phrases to have everyone identify who's holding an idol, those two do not work together, and it creates an inherently unfair situation that could only be worked around using the calculus that, the Yasa trio was able to do.
My theory on this was that I think that the producers were like, okay, people are going to find all of the idols, and then we'll have one match chat where it was like people are going to say all these weird things in one fell swoop, and then will people ask questions? But I kind of feel like that it was just like butchered by that Brad got voted out with the advantage, that it just like went on so long where then that it just like everybody knew about what was going on. And then it really made the knowledge is power less impactful or too OP. That it was that people you knew who had the idol, so there was no mystery.
And that's the thing, is that I think there was just an imbalance, right? Where it was almost like you have this one twist, which I find interesting, and then this advantage gets brought in that almost like overpowers the appeal of the first twist, right? Of, oh, you can not only pinpoint but steal the idol from someone else. And to help you out, we'll do it in a season where all the people who have idols essentially out themselves. And so I think that's just an example of the urge of production to understandably hit the ground running. Maybe they should have stretched first, in a manner of speaking. And look, I think what I've sort of realized is that I'm a fan of old school Survivor, but I would not call myself a Survivor purist. I think I would call myself a Survivor minimalist. And I think that's more so what I'm pushing for is I can understand the ability to try things out. Some things don't work, Hourglass. Some things do work. A lot of things that they put on this season. But I think more careful attention needs to be paid to, okay, what is going into the game when? And how does that mix with the other things that we brought in?
We want a holistic approach to the season where we want to take a look at it and that, sort of like, okay, well, we'll have no theme, but then you kind of ended up with the garbage plate. So I think that like in some ways, like I think the theme can help you like focus a little bit more. What is this season about? What feels out of place here on this season? And so sort of like just gives you sort of like an idea of sort of like, well, what is what are we trying to do here? As opposed to, well, let's just try a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is that I think this was an open prompt essay that the Survivor producers were meant to fill in rather than maybe a guided topic. And of course, as a result, instead of a nice structured 5-paragraph essay, at some points we sort of got like doodled creative tales of a fantasy land that brings in mystery noir elements at times. And so as a result, it's a little more jumbled from that perspective. So to look at this new era, you know, I can only assume, especially for 42, that they took a lot of this DNA when they cloned 42 from 41. I would be really interested to see, going back to our recipe, you know, analogy, are they decreasing the measurements of these ingredients? Or are they saying like, man, do or die was exciting, let's put it in here again? And just this idea of throwing the more things, the better in this regard, not necessarily learning the lessons from 41 of, we really benefited from the fact that, to be frank, a lot of these things didn't end up working out.
I think that in 42 we'll see sort of like the similar idea, but maybe less of the things where that they had like a year and a half to almost 2 years layoff in between seasons, where they had like a lot of different ideas that they came in with the whiteboards and the legal pads, and maybe they used a disproportionate amount in season 41 and then had not as many new ideas left over for season 42.
Shot their wad.
Potentially.
We'll see what the refractory period is. You know, chug a Gatorade, Survivor, and then get back to work.
I didn't like what you said about refractory period.
Oh boy.
Okay. Let's how about a palate cleanser? Mike, we were talking about Danny going to visit the Ponderosa, and I wanted to know what you thought about this. That this is something that I can't believe we haven't talked about yet. Mike, when Danny is going to Ponderosa, he has a chance to look over the Ponderosa menu. Yes. And I don't know, did we know that there is a Survivor themed Ponderosa menu?
Yeah, so I thought the exact same thing. So Danny is going to read a few items off, which I'm assuming you have the clip for. So I remember we have seen the visual of the menu before, but as much as I can recall or record, I do not remember if there are themed items on the Survivor menu.
All right. So if you haven't seen this is from Danny's Ponderosa. Here's Danny looking at the menu, thinking about what he is about to order.
You want? Can I get the Caesar salad, the swing vote Caesar salad, the Outlast lobster? I want the Ponderosa pasta. Oh, all the fixes that Jeff didn't give us. Can I get all the fixes that Jeff didn't give us this season, please? I don't know where else I'm be able to.
Okay.
All right. Let's break down these names here.
All right. Here, let me give it to you one more time.
Give it to me piecemeal here, ironically enough.
Okay. Here we go.
You want? Can I get the Caesar salad, the swing vote Caesar salad?
There's a swing vote Caesar salad.
You know what? That works on many levels, right? I would say Brutus is one of the biggest swing votes of all time. We're talking about being self-interested.
Yeah.
So I like swing vote Caesar salad.
Swing vote Caesar salad. Is there anything special about the swing vote Caesar salad?
Yeah, I mean, depending on the day, it could really be either really good or really bad for you. Like, it might have different proteins on it, depending on what you do. Maybe the dressing, like, it starts good, but then turns on you at a certain point.
Oh my god. Okay. Swing vote Caesar salad. Okay.
The Outlast lobster. I want
Outlast lobster.
Now, is this part of the final tribal council? We have gotten to the Outlast lobster portion of the evening. You'll each eat a lobster whole. Whoever finishes first will win the Survivor. Will win 2 extra jury votes.
Yeah, the Outlast lobster. Are there other things? Is there sort of like the Outplay pizza?
I like that. Or let's see. Outwit. How about Outwit Cheese Whiz?
The Outwit Cheese Whiz.
Exactly. It's just like it's brain food.
Outlast lobster. Okay.
It almost sounds like it's like I don't know, the last lobster remaining, right? Like that's not even like the punny nickname for the lobster. This is the one that outlasted it all. It's the sole survivor, but it no longer is one.
Okay.
I want the Ponderosa pasta.
Ponderosa pasta. What's on the Ponderosa pasta?
I feel like the bitterness. It just tastes really bitter.
You think it's with a red sauce?
Yeah, it's like a really big red sauce, but it's beautiful. It really has a nice glow up from the kitchen to the plate, just because it has that beautification behind it. Makes you lose a lot of weight or gain a lot of weight, I should say. At the same time, this naming, I think, this is the best of the four in my opinion. And
Ponderosa pasta.
I wonder if Ponderosa pasta was the genesis, right? Like, did everything spring off of Ponderosa pasta? Like, we could come up with other nicknames for this.
Yeah, Mike, you've talked about your days waiting tables back at the Outback Steakhouse.
Yes, of course.
Do you think that there are also special menu items that the Ponderosa wait staff has to tell the voted out players about?
Ooh, that's interesting. I'm trying to think, like, is there special for this season, right? Like the knowledge is power pudding, or like in order to get roasted broccoli, you have to say verbatim, broccoli is just a bunch of small trees.
Yes, the beware broccoli. We have a very special.
Yeah, exactly. Something like I don't know, the do or die. I'm trying to think. What's a nice little alliteration for that? I think do or die. Do or die dressing is great. I love this idea of like dressing. So I have 3 spigots here of dressing. 1 is great. 2 of them have spoiled. It's your choice. You pick the do or die.
2 of them are terrible. Here. Yeah. Do you want to switch? Do you want to keep the one you got?
I got this ladle full. Do you want to switch at the moment? I could dip it into this other one.
Also, we have for you tonight a ship wheel strip steak, which is for 2. You can share it, or you can eat it all yourself. It's really no judgment zone.
Exactly. Oh, so we have this beautiful meal for you, but we have secretly given notes to 2 other jurors, and you must all say your phrases if you want to get dinner tonight. Otherwise, you cannot eat until everyone has said something.
Yeah.
I unfortunately, I brought you this beautiful plate of surf and turf. Unfortunately, an hourglass was smashed by another juror, so I'm going to have to give this to them instead. And now you must eat this paltry meal of celery.
We also have a delicious plate of I'm as confused as a goat on AstroTurf cheese for you.
Yes, exactly, with extra goat on the side.
Yeah. What was the other one?
Oh, all the fixes that Jeff didn't give us. Can I get all the fixes?
Okay, is
that a real thing?
I'm most intrigued by this one.
Fixins are toppings.
Yeah, what is that? Is this like a platter of loose toppings that they just throw on the plate?
Like tomato slices and pickles?
Yeah, like, oh, here's some scallions. Just, I don't want loose vegetables on a plate. I don't want deconstructed crudité as I'm getting out of the game of Survivor.
Yeah, Danny was so happy.
Didn't give us this season, please. I don't know where else I'm gonna be able to go and not pay for any damn thing. So I'm gonna enjoy this until it's time to go home. And when I get home, I'm gonna be asking the people at the restaurant, why y'all not like the people at Ponderosa?
Yeah, why aren't you giving me these Survivor meals?
This is... I thought maybe one day that Survivor would show the similar DNA as Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville. I just never thought it would happen within my lifetime.
Mike, I've got another voicemail to get back to. And how about we hear from Lauren from Austin, Texas, who wants to talk about Erika, whose stock may be rising. Let's hear about Lauren.
Hi, Rob and Mike. With Survivor changing the format and being all about twists and surprises, is there a chance that they may want to blindside the audience and downplay the winner edit? Or am I just hopeful for an Erika win? Thanks.
Okay. Mike, Erika, she did not have the biggest edit. Steven and I were talking about this last night on the Know-It-Alls. Steven feels like that there has not been enough Erika content today in this season for us to really think about Erika as a serious winner candidate. How do you feel about Erika's winning chances?
I would say there is not enough content to verify her as a strong Survivor winner, but there is enough content to verify her as a Survivor winner. Because, I mean, listen, you just watched 40 seasons of the dang show. You know not every winner is created equal, and especially not every winner's story is created equal. There have been quite a number of times where the story has been less about why someone won and more about, to quote another podcast on our network, why someone lost. And I think, unfortunately, that bore out some negative results from the fandom. But it has happened in the past. It's sort of is like what I would call the Fortinbras edit from Hamlet, where essentially in the end of Hamlet, everyone stabs each other, poisons each other, goes after each other. Here comes Fortinbras, storms Denmark at the end, takes Hamlet's kingdom essentially by himself because everyone else is taken out. It's the person that you least suspect ends up taking it all because everyone else was too busy gunning for each other. And honestly, I could see Erika having a win very much like that in the general context of Survivor history. But what I will throw out as a caveat, I don't know if from a modern Survivor perspective that works. I'll talk about it more, but I'll throw it to you first.
Yeah, I definitely could see Erika from a game perspective that, I could see her as the winner. I mean, if we're just talking about the edit of the TV show, there was something that happened in the episode last night that really got me buying into Erika a little bit more. I want to play Erika's comments talking about her troubles with voting Liana out of the game.
Everybody wants. Like, I have still a lot of guilt for like voting out Liana. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, I know that like everybody wants like a woman to win after so many seasons. And I'm like, I'm not doing what people want right now. It's been a long time since a woman's won. I want to see a woman win, ideally me, but I couldn't help but feel like a lot of guilt. And like, I was letting a lot of people down when I voted to eliminate Liana last night.
So Mike, back in season 39, we had the comments of Rob. Sandra wanted to bet Rob. I bet a woman is going to win the season. But Buzz was like, hey, I was born at night, but I wasn't born last night. And so many of us felt like, well, look, you're not going to show like our two amazing Survivor idols make a prediction and then be wrong. But then here, I mean, you have Erika talking about what it would mean for so many people to have a woman winner of this season. That are they're gonna tease people again? Like, I feel like
shame on me, fooled me twice. Shame on you. I think I reversed that, but like, I don't know. That's the tough thing. Would
you put that in the show if it wasn't gonna happen?
But they did it before.
They did before, but it's a new era.
But like the same new dog, old tricks, like we have reinvented a lot of great storytelling stuff this season, but like maybe they just can't help themselves with that soundbite and to invite this really sparkly thing, like you said, to really bait some of us along of like, yeah, Erika's been like fairly low key in the beginning of the season, and much like Loki, she has become a bit of a mischief goddess through the latter half of the season. It's like, but wait a minute, maybe she can do it. Perhaps does that mean we're playing right into the editor's traps by getting our hopes up for that once again? Because yeah, it's one of those things where like, man, I know I got bit by that tiger last time, but like, let me stick my hand in that cage one more time and see if I can pet it,
Yeah. Mike, what about in your conversations with the players that have come out of the game? Have they given you any insight? I don't think I've asked a ton of specific Erika questions. Have you gotten a vibe from the jury, how they're feeling about Erika?
So, I'm really excited to talk with Luvu members in particular, because we really got such a little sense as to what the dynamics were there. And it really did seem like the perception of Erika was that, as she vocalized in that like breakout episode she had, I think in episode 4, like she really wasn't doing much from their perspective. I think Nasir told me that she did not have a conversation with him about game until like day 15 or something like that. She was really trying to slow play things, which I think is interesting and maybe shows in the edit as well, right? It's that adage of like, hey, if you're not playing the game, if you're not showing us something, we're not going to put you on screen necessarily. And so while there may be arguments of, well, Erika's been really underserved in the edit. Maybe it's because the gameplay she was doing in that first half of the game before she smashed the hourglass was really non-existent, in a manner of speaking. It's a Danny Boatwright thing of her beating the radar, almost, of saying, like, I'm just going to keep cool for right now. We're going to keep winning. The other thing that I've gotten, and more so not through me, but through Gordon Holmes' word associations, there's a lot of luck words that are affiliated with Erika, right? I think a lot of people, including Danny this past round, said when they said, give me a word to describe Erika, they would say lucky. And listen, while other people named Lucky have called themselves stars, they also cry in the lonely heart.
Yes.
So when we're going to ask on days 26 and Erika's asking, why did these tears come at night? It might be perhaps that people think she might be too lucky. And that a lot of the way she got to the end was not necessarily due to her own skill set, but because there were several times where something happened to fall in her lap the right way.
Mm-hmm. So if it's Erika and Xander and Heather, this is like just like the one option that I come back to. And I feel like that the tiebreaker for me is that like if people are not necessarily loving Xander, we don't really have an advocate for Erika yet that we know of. Like who's making the case for Erika? I do wonder, is there enough sentiment on the jury that they would like to see a woman winner that Erika would be the person to pull it out?
So that's a really interesting comment as well. It goes back to a conversation with Shan and Ricard when they were doing the close talking at the reward, right? Where
that's another one. Yeah, is a woman going to beat a man? That I don't know. And then Ricard said, well, I think this season could be different.
Yeah, it's interesting. Again, is this just a rug pull that they're going to give it to the man at the end of the day? And they're just saying like, well, maybe in the future that'll happen. Much like Deshawn talks about, we're planting a seed and biting into the delicious fruit or whatever metaphor it was later on. What I also found really interesting about that soundbite.
That's the 41 fruit bowl.
Yeah, exactly. That's also
41
available.
Fruit cocktail.
Yeah, exactly. It's got some Brad bananas. It's got some, I don't know, JD jackfruit. It's got some, let's see, trying to think of, I don't know, Voranges, which are Voce oranges that wear his shirt. I think that the other interesting thing about the conversation that you played there is the regard with which the cast regards the audience. I find incredibly interesting. And obviously this was talked about last time, not only with the Deshawn stuff of like, representing the community and then the cause of it all, but Liana even saying, there are probably people yelling at the screen, telling us, why aren't you making this move? And here Erika is saying, I'm feeling like I'm disappointing people back home. Survivor has really evolved to a place, and I think the advent of social media has really helped with this in terms of representation. But I think subsequently, it has become, if we have 18 players and Jeff/production/the monster is the 19th player, I think the audience has become the 20th player on Survivor. And I'm not sure how to feel about that, to be honest.
Yeah, I do think that sort of like the optimal version of these shows, at least like in their infancy, is sort of where, reality television is sort of like, if we are truly watching like people in a fishbowl, like it's sort of like that at its most pure when the subjects don't know they're being observed, where that, sort of like that we're so meta and like so focused on like what's happening on the show. There's good and there's bad to that, but we're so focused on also like how every move that I make, and also like how is it being received by the audience.
Right. And I mean, I don't think, luckily with these players, right, it hasn't truly weighed in their minds of like, well, I can't vote this person out because they're going to be the fan favorite and everyone is going to hate me, right? In a way that I think maybe that is played in Big Brother. The advantage that Survivor has is that since it's not live to tape, that essentially they don't have audience votes that can sort of give them a pulse as to who is a fan favorite. And so, because I would imagine that
in a
might
returning
influence
player season, yes, but not in a first-time player season.
Yeah, exactly. And even then, like, I think the players are savvy enough to be like, well, this person was a big fan favorite. Like, yes, I'll vote against them, but it's in the spirit of the game. I just think it's a really interesting comment, because I can't think in many other Survivor seasons, maybe outside of those returning player seasons, where people will say, you know, there's an audience watching back home that wanted me to make this decision, and me not making this decision might have hurt things. Now, again, let me give kudos to the players for weighing that in mind, but ultimately making a decision that benefits them the most. I think that's the balance I want to ideally reach. I fear that some people might do the opposite at certain points.
How so?
Well, just this idea that I would imagine there might be a non-zero chance we get a player out there eventually that's like, I was thinking about possibly voting this out, but then I realized, you know, X, Y, and Z, how I might be perceived for this. And so I decided not to do it, which let me just also put out a caveat that, like, obviously that should come to play in things like hateful language, discriminatory practices, harassment, etc.
Yeah.
But I do wonder, with the whole social experiment idea of Survivor, you know, if people are doing it for the gram, in a manner of speaking, with how they're playing the game, you know, is that an odd line to cross in terms of the way that people perceive the way they're playing?
Yeah. Look, I think that this whole year in reality TV has been like a really interesting experiment of how do players, navigate now this very new playing field. I think that players are going to, eventually see what has worked and what hasn't worked. And I think ultimately come to the conclusion that I still, I have to play the game that's best for me. I have to still, think about this as like, what's going to help me win? What are the coalitions that I could make that are going to help me advance in the game and ultimately, bring home this money?
That's what I really hope. And that's, I think, also a testament to casting. Again, I think Big Brother is a show that for many reasons has cast people that are doing it for the gram. And not Graham. Sorry, Xander. I'm not talking about your grandmother. There is an app out there called Instagram. But I think that I think that's a problem more so with other reality shows. I think what I am hopeful for is that something that I really love about this season is how raw it is. I think maybe that's also how the food at Ponderosa is prepared raw in honor of the Castaway from 41's experiences. Like, we have seen blood, sweat, and tears out there on the island. My trepidation is that if people feel like there is an audience back home watching every move that they make, it causes them to almost self-censor and maybe not expose some very vulnerable and very intriguing elements of their personality that we would not be able to experience. That being said, I absolutely 100% understand what a lot of minority cast members had been saying, right, about representation, feeling the burden to represent a community. And as was said in that beautiful tribal council last episode, my hope is, with the continued path that we're on towards diversity, we're on the first step of a big staircase towards an ideal world, that it'll get to a point where these people will no longer feel the responsibility to represent something and just to be themselves. Because ultimately, that's what we want to see. That's why I love talking with these people each and every week, is because I want to get to know them as people. And I do feel like there might be some walls that they put up in honor of, preventing us from doing that. And I'm always happy when those walls get knocked down.
Yeah. This was something that came up in my conversation with Jamal from a few weeks ago on the recap, and he talked about for future Black players, is there pressure on them to work together and to try to do what the Black players in this season couldn't do, what the players in Big Brother were able to do. And his advice was, you've made it. You made it to the show. Now play your game. Look out for you, and we'll get your stories, but don't feel like that you have to play a different game and make the challenge of winning the game harder on yourself than it is for other players that don't necessarily feel that same responsibility.
Yeah, and I agree. It is easier said than done. Now, that being said, actually, on that note, let me throw out another pepper in another sort of like ubiquitous question. Now looking back on the whole Danny and Deshawn of it all,
The
we have
Probst pepper.
exactly. Oh God, yeah, Probst pepper and what? Burnett salt. Is that sort of like the condiments at the table in Ponderosa to season things up? Season 41 seasoning. I think that, you know, there's this moment in this really interesting Ponderosa, which have largely been positive, but like this is the first really big emotionally charged moment, right? Where it's Liana, Shan, and Danny have a very frank Garrison conversation about essentially what happened, and Liana and Shan essentially arguing like, you betrayed this alliance, now we're all going out, bing bang boom.
Bingo bango.
In retrospect, Rob, do you think Danny and Deshawn voting out Shan at that moment on day 19 was a good idea, considering the way the game has fallen out?
I mean, I think it's very hard to argue that it was that, you know, and I talked to Jamal that same week, and Jamal talked about how it was sort of like an impossible situation for Danny and Deshawn at that time. But like, I mean, looking back, you know, we questioned the move like in the real time, and it's sort of been, you know, very bad since then. I mean, if I really wanted to like put on the, you know, rosiest of colored glasses.
Thank you, Survivor 4 reunion host Rosie. Come on out with those glasses.
Survivor. No, that's Wanda. Just sit right back. Okay.
There you go.
So that if Danny felt like that they had Xander at this final 7 vote where Ricard was vulnerable, you know, you could see the scenario where I guess it could have worked. You know, it like had Xander actually like been in Danny's pocket, and so maybe, you know, kudos to Xander for the move of, you know, pulling one over on Danny to make him feel like, okay, well, all right, we're gonna vote out Shan here, then we're gonna swing back and vote out Ricard at the next vote. We still have Liana, we'll have Xander. They don't get along, but they both are going to be interested in voting out Ricard, and then you know, we still are looking good here. You know, I think that maybe there's, you know, that version, but that is not what happened.
Yeah, I mean, despite everything that happened, though, I do not begrudge them for the decision that they made, because I think on paper, this is the thing to do. I mean, Shan is this big looming threat. She has an idol, so she's guaranteed like at least one more round of safety. This is the time where you can catch her unawares, where you have the numbers, you make the move. What complicates the matter is what Shan told me in her exit press, which is she was fully committed to the cause, to the point where apparently if the All Black Alliance makes it to the Final 4, she bows out at 4. She pulls the Christina Cha and she says, I am good going right here. I already won. A black person is winning this season. I am happy. Vote me out. I don't know if either the other 3, A, knew that, and or B, believed her about that. Because I think if they knew that, their decision would probably be a little different.
I would also just, you know, channel Stephen Fishback and say, you know, the exit interview, you know, it is not always canon. You know, it is easier to say that than, you know, in the, you know, to actually, you know, do that move.
Yeah. So I think that being said, if they had no idea about that, or they felt like, yeah, that's just a load of guff you're giving me, like, who's actually gonna, what is this, the end game of Survivor 29? Like, nobody's gonna bow out in the end game in modern day Survivor. I think they lined up their shot, and you take the shot when you do. Because otherwise, then you're just going to be looking around with your gun for the deer that escaped you, and you don't have those Brad skills of camouflaging yourself. So while it did sort of lead to this downfall, and it is really interesting looking back in retrospect, right? Like let's rewind back to like the Tiffany vote when everyone was like, oh no, this alliance is just going to steamroll everybody and make it to the end. And here we are, them going out one after the other after the other. Everyone was saying, what everyone else needs to do is join up together and get rid of the people in this alliance. And that's exactly what they did. It's an odd sort of mirror, warped fun view mirror of the Road to 4 in a way. And it's a fun way to show that history oftentimes repeats itself on Survivor.
All right, Mike, you are talking about some of the big moments from the season. That's a great segue to take this question from Paolo. try that again for Paolo.
Hi, Rob. Hi, Mike. This is Paolo calling from Toronto. Mike, I'm a big fan and an avid listener of the B&B podcast. I think you and Liana do such great work. My question for you is it just me or did this season just fly by? It seems just like yesterday when I was driving in the middle of the night on a road trip, listening to your cast assessment with Rob. Your podcasts kept me awake and safe, so thank you for that. Looking back, what would be the moments from this season that would be most remembered and frequently referenced? Thank you.
Okay.
I'm happy to be your podcast no-dos, Paolo. Thank you very much. I completely agree, though. Flying by. Like my favorite. Like my favorite four-letter word is bird, and we flew just like that thing.
It's true. Will it be said in the reunion? We'll see. So, the fall just flies by. I always say, it's Labor Day and then it's Christmas. So this is just a 13-week season. We sometimes get an extra week of Survivor, but here we are. Next week is going to be the finale. Should we do a quick play out list of the moments from the season?
Yeah, let's talk about it, because I think one of the other reasons why I'm generally very high on this season is because I think there are so many big moments baked into it. Even in the pre-merge, I think some people were kind of poo-pooing the pre-merge, but I think there's some corn in that poo-poo. There's some nutrition to be had. Xander gets it.
All right. What are our 4 tiers, Mike?
All right. So we have, of course,
worth playing for.
Which actually, should we talk about that for a second?
Why don't we make that the first thing on the list?
Yeah, I mean, well, actually, I don't know. I don't know where that falls in it. But yeah, we have our rarity here. Worth playing for is, by my marks, a rhetorical question. Deshawn promptly answered it in this episode, breaking the boundaries in so many ways, the Survivor cast.
Yeah, why don't we go back and listen in to this exchange with Danny and Deshawn. Here's Jeff setting up the reward that it would be worth playing for.
Choice. You can enjoy grilled chicken and veggies or cake, cookies, and candy. Worth playing for?
Yeah. Yep. I mean, I don't need either of them. I thought we were gonna come in and maybe say like a letter, family letter, something like that.
Every other day, it's no rice, no food. What is this, Survivor? Today, I said you get a choice. Chicken and veggies, which will just fuel you for the immunity challenge. Or if you really have a craving for sugar, you can have that. And you say you want a loved one letter. I can't figure it out. All right, let's do it.
All right, Mike, first off, did you think that Jeff was going to say, all right, you got me. Here's your letters.
Did you see it in my back pocket? Oh, you rascal. Here it is. I mean, I do think I followed a couple of Survivor group chats, and I think there were some people that were genuinely like, did he get a letter from home? Because I mean, there is some room from negotiation, right?
I guess so.
Even outside of this season, like Natalie Anderson in Salmon Dessor was like, hey, don't, bogard the candy probes. Like, give me this full jar of things and I'll step out of this challenge.
Yeah. Mike,
but as Jeff says, I think Deshawn was expecting a miracle from the Survivor gods for the heavens to open and for a letter to drop through, Harry Potter style.
Yeah. So first off, I want to know that is this the impression that Jeff has of the survivors?
Cake, cookies, and candy. Worth playing for?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, I don't need either of them. I thought we were gonna come in and maybe say like a letter, family letter, something like that.
Every other day, it's no rice, no food. What is this, Survivor?
So that's what people are like. What? No rice, no food. What is this, Survivor? What is that thread?
Let's remember Jeff's VO career, right? Remember when he was doing his mom's voice in Nicaragua, like, well, how come they don't just form an alliance and work together? And so now apparently the voice of all the Survivor for was who says, "Me hungry, me starving, Jeff Pro. Put something in tum tum."
But What I guess that what this fictional survivor is saying, wait, no rice, no food, what is this, Survivor? Like, does this person think that you come on Survivor and then you get a lot of food?
Does Jeff think like his impression is like Jeff Spicoli, like just sarcastically, what is this, man? Survivor? No rice? What are we even doing here?
Yeah. So I was thinking about this earlier today, Mike, that do you think, coming off of last week, that Deshawn is now feeling like, all right, Jeff is like, all right, you've got the choice, like this or this, or you could switch it, and Deshawn is like, no, I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah,
I'm doing my own thing. This is I'm not taking your Monty Hall problem. I'm ordering off the menu my thing.
That's what it is. Is that now Deshawn believes every Survivor choice has a third hidden option.
Yes.
That he must access.
My instinct is always right. And my instinct is telling me that no, not chicken, not candy, letters.
So what do you think? Do you think, like, is there a chance that Jeff would be like, I don't know, he'll scribble out, like, forge some sort of line of like, hi, Deshawn, hope you're doing well. The dog is good. I'm assuming you have a dog. Love, Mrs. Deshawn, parentheses, your mom. Like, Deshawn, I got a letter from your mom.
Wait, Mrs. Deshawn is his mom?
Yeah, like, I don't remember your last name. So you're Mrs. Deshawn. Your brothers and or sisters and or friends are well.
Mm-hmm.
They hope you're doing well in Fiji. Oh, Deshawn, what a heartwarming letter. Don't touch that. The ink's still wet. But please tell us your thoughts on this heartwarming letter. I love this for so many reasons. First, I mean, let's talk about drop the 4, keep the 1. This calls back all the way to an unseen story from Survivor Borneo. Do you remember hearing this,
Yeah,
Rob?
the beer? Yeah.
Yeah, so from Mark Burnett's book, not the Bible, the book that he wrote, there was a story where there was the Mud Challenge, right? Where they were originally just offered a reward of 1 bottle of Budweiser. Yeah, and apparently the cast threw such a shit fit that they then had to construct post-haste ad hoc the Survivor bar and be like, oh, you get to watch the rough cut of the first episode. That was completely done on the fly.
Richard Hatch, I don't even think drinks. So he's like, well, what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. So they had to like really swap, because remember that the previous episode was like the first pseudo family visit, right? With Sean receiving a massage from the captain / his dad. And so it was like, oh crap, like we saw Sean's dad and now we just get a beer? What the hell is going on here? And so they really had to like figure something out at the last minute. But I feel like since then, we have, of course, had the negotiations happen, but I feel like we haven't had a situation where Jeff asks, worth playing for, and someone's like, yeah, it's fine. This, honestly, Rob, this might be the most Curb Your Enthusiasm moment on Survivor that I've ever seen.
Bum, bum, bum.
I mean, wait, play the clip again. That's kind of the music that plays when Deshawn says his thing.
Okay, here we go.
Chicken and veggies, or cake, cookies, and candy. Worth playing for?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't need either of them. I thought we were gonna come in and maybe say like a letter, family letter, or something like that.
Every other day, it's no rice, no food. What is this, Survivor?
Yeah. Mike, are you a chicken and vegetables guy or a cake and candy guy?
So here's the thing. It's like, I could understand the protein value, but like, God, this is a group of nerds. Like, who doesn't take cookies and candy?
Yeah, how about Steven last night? Like, what? Like, who would ever take the candy?
I mean, here's the thing.
With the timely Gene Rayburn references.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think, I think that from a digestive perspective, of course, I think it makes more sense. But like, especially in a do or die thing, right? Like, candy is such a flash in the pan idea. You will be invigorated with the energy of 1,000 suns if you down candy, and that's the only thing you eat.
It might be a good move with 3 days left.
Live a little, you know, gobble something down. Though according to Xander, apparently he has his own source of candy in the form of chicken and vegetables.
Well, ultimately, Deshawn, and we'll get back to how we're going to play that list. Deshawn and Erika and Xander, they chose the chicken and veggies, and Xander said it hit the spot.
The reward, chicken and vegetables. This is Xander candy. This is like my kind of food.
Oh my gosh, Xander, this is like perfect for your diet.
Okay, and I'm so confused about Xander's diet because when I talked to Tiffany, she said, oh, the reason why Xander opted out of the challenge is because he's paleo. He doesn't eat grilled cheese, but then he's eating pizza. And then I'm hearing, no, Xander is not paleo. But even Erika is like, this is so good for your diet.
This is the whitest thing I've ever heard in my life. And I say this as a very white person.
This is Xander candy.
Well, I guess I'll...
And why isn't it Zandy candy?
I've got a bit of a sweet tooth. Ooh, let me dip into the Tyson grilled chicken breast.
Yes. All right, Mike, quick. Let's come up with Zandy candies. Okay, I've got one.
Right.
York peppermint hamburger patty.
Yes. Ooh, I love it. Okay. Let's see. How about Reese's peanut cups? It's just a handful of loose peanuts in a cup. Delicious. How about M&M's? Meat and milk
and mutton. Yeah. Yeah. I've got Reese's Pesque.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. How about let's see. I'm trying to think. How about Skitters? It's just
yeah.
It's just like skittering fish. It's not actual candy.
How about Milky Way, but it's WHEY.
Ooh, I like that. How about let's see. Baby Ruth, but it's instead like a bunch of photos of someone named Ruth as a child. It's emotionally delicious.
Ruth was my best friend.
Oh, Ruth. $100,000, but it's just a stack of cash. This did think though, and
is that going to be his prize?
Exactly. Past inflation, once Biden's done with it. I think that.
Well, no, I thought you were saying he's a 0-vote finalist.
So Zandy, I totally agree. Like, this is from the guy who had red buffers and Mergatory and everything. Zandy was right there. It did get me thinking. So on the B&B, when Liana Boris watched the episode with her parents a couple of weeks ago, she pointed out how Xander looked a lot like It Boy Timothy Chalamet.
Okay.
Do we think when Xander wins Survivor, he is going to build the Zandy Chocolate Factory?
Okay. So the Willy Wonka Chocolate Factory, the Zandy, the Zandy Candy Chocolate Factory, is it just a slaughterhouse?
It's just a butchery. But just imagine Xander in his purple sweater, right? He walks out, does a little tumble. He sings, "Come with me and you'll see dead butterflies are just dead relatives saying hi, fly on by."
Oompa loompa doopity dee.
Please go and vote out Tiffany. Yeah. Charlie, you know what happened to the you got this golden ticket. Well, you can have this fake one. I mean, Xander does talk a little bit like Willy Wonka, right? Like, I would not be surprised if one day he's walking through the woods like, "Xander, what do you think about today?" He goes, "There's no earthly way of knowing which direction we are going. Is it raining? Is it flowing? Is a hurricane a-flowing?"
Yeah. Boy, the Zandy Candyman can.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's going to be a real rough trip through the factory. Like, I know the previous Wonka tunnel had the chickens getting their heads cut off. I'm pretty sure that's the entire tour of the Zandy Candy Factory.
Yeah. All right.
I was just gonna walk through the forest and be like, "These are all broccoli. We'll cut them down because they're just like small trees. I like what you said about broccoli, Charlie. I'll keep you in mind."
Is Brad Charlie?
Oh my God, Brad is Charlie! Cheer up, Bradley. I like that. You hid under the fizzy lifting drink. You ran through it. It must now be cleaned. But Brad is good at heart, so he ends up winning at the end of the day.
All right, who are the other kids? It's the pre-merge.
Oh,
it's
okay.
like it's Voce, JD.
JD is absolutely Mike TV. He's Mike JD. I think Voce is unfortunately Augustus Gloop. I think Violet Beauregard. has Verika Salt is Sydney. Verika Salt is 150% Sydney. And who's Violet Beauregard? Sarah, I guess, by default.
I guess so. She had a little bit of a potty mouth on the exit interview.
Yeah, exactly. You're turning Violet. Yeah, maybe Jeannie.
All right. We're gonna rank the moments. I have like 100 more things to get to.
We're gonna get through this. This is a big list. Okay, it's a big podcast.
Okay, everybody, cancel your plans tomorrow.
We had to take a brief pick to the chocolate factory. Who's Grandpa Joe? Is that Jeff Probst?
I think so.
I never thought that I would see people turn down chicken and veggies. Oh my God. All right, so we're doing Outwit Up playoffs. I'm so sorry to Paulo, who probably fell asleep on his drive now after that tangent.
We've gone off the road like we did.
All right, so we're talking about infamous moments. So the Shan blindside, like, is that a moment, or is that like an entire episode? What do we count as a moment?
Is there a signature moment in that episode? Is it when Shan says the Ricard, you have my vote? Is that the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I love the scene where Ricard narrates like all this, and then it's time to blindside Shan. The conversation with Shan and Ricard is good, but like, is that more of a culmination of their relationship than an iconic moment? Are any of these iconic moments, Rob, going to become iconic later on, or are some of them instantly iconic?
Instantly iconic, yeah. So all right, so let's Shan's blindside worth playing for. We don't need to nitpick the moment. All right, Erika breaking the hourglass.
So that's tough because how do you separate your feelings about the twist versus the magnanimity of the situation? Like, that is almost in like a forget you, go home, goodbye of just what the hell is this show doing? It's also really interesting, Rob, if we're talking about not to go off the road once again, but like to talk about pivotal moments in the game. I cannot think of another sliding glass door moment in Survivor history recently as much as like, what if that hourglass doesn't get smashed? Because so many things change.
Well, Erika goes home.
Goes home, which is obviously.
And what if she wins?
Yeah, and which is obviously a big determinant. But we also have like Xander and Liana and Tiffany are vulnerable now. So there's a chance that Liana does the knowledge is power for Xander, and it works. Maybe because Xander has to hold on to his idol to possibly play it for himself. I think Evie has certainly vocalized that one reason why they became immediately targeted is because they were sort of the only chalk pick left, from that group that ended up being vulnerable. And so if they're not out in front, they could make a much longer run into the game. Deshawn gets his name thrown out early, and he really dispels that notion immediately. So does his game change? Sydney survives the vote. She's a key player for Danny. Does that change the makeup of things? Do we get a Luvu civil war happening? The more stuff I find out about these post-merge politics, Mob, the more I realize like it truly was turning back time in a way. We could have seen a completely different season play out where a second group of 6 vulnerable than the first group of 6.
Yeah. Okay. Well, in a different world, we're podcasting that.
So then here's a big one. Speaking of which, because I feel like this is absolutely going to be a moment that gets remembered. The knowledge is power fizzle, I think, has to be a top tier moment.
Worth playing for.
Everyone Loved it. It was brilliant storytelling, flashing back to Xander making the fake idol and everything. So I think that is definitely a worth playing for in both editing and like gameplay, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
The do or die box. I think that's gotta be. So it's worth playing for. It is My Life is Fine. It's Ain't No Hershey Bar, and it's Forget You Go Home Goodbye. I think I put the box, the do or die boxes maybe in. I would honestly probably put it in My Life is Fine. Like, I think no matter how you felt about the twist, there was
This is a great pull for Deshawn.
Yeah, and there was suspense involved too, right? Like, I think everyone was on the edge of their seat, no matter how you felt about the twist when they were shuffling around those boxes. So I think the actual suspense of the moment maybe pushes it past maybe the questionability of the twist in general.
How about JD getting voted out?
JD getting voted out, or just JD in general. I think JD getting voted out, it's tough because, like, I think at the time that was considered a huge moment, but understandably so. While Paulo, I think, justifiably says that it feels like time has flown by, I think there are people that are like, hey, remember the pre-merge? You know, I think now people remember a lot more that now we have equated them to the kids from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but there also is a little bit of odd, tiny whiminess with, wow, this feels so long ago. So I don't know how many pre-merge moments are incredibly iconic, right? Like Brad, scoping out the well and running back and forth like his pants were on fire and he was one of the wet bandits was fun, but I don't remember does that make the cut when we're looking back at moments from
that if this was the Out Without Play At Last of season 41, it would be on the list, but it would probably be in like Ain't No Hershey Bar. It is not it's not garbage, but not super memorable.
I mean, the thing is, like, if I remember anything from JD, it might honestly be the money. Into Shan's incredible confessional about you probably should have said tribal. Like, I think that's the JD moment I would take away as the most memorable and almost like emblematic part of his Survivor career.
Okay. Any other moments you want to highlight before we keep moving on?
Evie solving the puzzle in 5 seconds.
Yeah, that's probably My Life is Fine.
Yeah. Also, I tweeted this out last night. What do you think Jeff Probst was more impressed by? Ricard memorizing 4-letter words or David Voce knowing 16.666 repeating off the top of his head?
I mean, that I think that he was probably more like, what is like the delta of how impressed should a person, like the Ricard thing, like genuinely was impressive. The Voce thing was like not that impressive. But Jeff was like equally as impressed. So I feel like I'm going to give it to the Voce thing.
Sorry, Rob, there was a third option. You should have pulled the Deshawn. It was literally everything Heather does in a challenge is the thing that Jeff Probst has been most impressed by the entire season.
Mike, I want to explore something with you that you were telling me before the show, that you said that you had a interesting thought that you are feeling like that Jeff is very high on Heather.
Yeah. I mean, I think to Jeff, I think Heather represents an ideal I think to Jeff, Heather is tough as nails. For lack of a better term, because he adores the fact that Heather will not give up. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, let's go back to that challenge that she biffed in the pre-merge, the only challenge that Lulu lost. And let's remember, sort of eye-rollingly, how big of a deal Jeff made about like, wow, Heather, you tried.
Yeah.
You did it. And then looking at this most recent episode, I don't know if you paid attention to the challenge commentary, Rob, but man, Jeff was just like complimenting the heck out of every single thing Heather was doing the entirety of every challenge.
Well, Mike, this goes back to something I've been saying for a while, that the entire like ethos of Survivor, like what is the show? It's a show that is about people that no matter how hard it gets, they never give up. Whether it's, on the edge of extinction, whether it's Heather in the challenge, whether it's Tiffany in the challenge, whether it's people that are, competing against a group that is really like outgunning them, no matter how hard it gets, that you never quit on Survivor. That's why we're taking the food away. That's why we're giving you nothing. We're going to make the game is going to get harder and faster. And then as long as you just don't give up, that's the message of Survivor. That's what the entire show is.
I agree. It does not need to be done patronizingly. So is maybe the point.
Well,
that I'm
Heather,
making.
I guess in Jeff's mind might be the best representation of that story, which the producers have decided that this is the entire message of the show. She might be the poster child for it.
Yeah, like she is the, you know what she is? She is the what was it? The character on the poster from the
We
wartime.
Can Do It. Yeah.
Yeah, like the Xander, Xander would know.
Mhm.
The wartime of like that is Heather here. Like it was just so interesting during the challenge for it to be like, wow, Heather going up that net, putting one foot in front of the other like a human does.
Mhm.
Incredible work.
You know who else didn't give up? Grandpa Joe got out of the bed, put on his slippers, danced, went to the chocolate factory.
Yeah, that's why Jeff Probst is him, right? He's like, wow, I got out of bed and I took that one
Mhm.
step. I never thought that I would be over the moon in ecstasy, but here I am on the other side. And man, the cheese is delicious. Even in the immunity challenge, right? When he's like, you could do it, Heather. You've done it before. You could do it again. It's wild. He has a disproportionate amount of passion invested in this woman that I don't think her family even has. I think Jeff Probst is the biggest cheerleader Heather has ever experienced in her life, and she should be grateful for it.
Okay. Mike, I want to start to look ahead towards the finale. I don't have a question necessarily to cue this up, but I do have a clip that I could play that's been put out on the Survivor social media. Is on the going to a video that was posted on the CBS Instagram page.
Oh, okay. CBS is doing it for the Insta. Yeah, this is interesting because there's been a lot of speculation as to what's going on with the finale. As you said in the very beginning of this podcast, right? Like, oh, is there going to be some final thing that they've thrown in? Jeff certainly did not help things with the odd way he vocalized the way that the finale is set
Vocalized.
up. Yeah, vocalized, exactly. Well, though he maybe used, people only understood about 16.666% repeating of what he was putting out there. But it seems like we have further clarification as to how the finale is going to be structured that we can talk about after you play it.
Okay. All right, here we go. Here is a clip. This is from Survivor on this is official sanctioned CBS promo. Let me see if I can get this to play for you.
We're going to announce the winner right here on location. This is the finale of Survivor.
It's going to be a wild finish.
Who wins season 41?
The 2-hour season finale of Survivor, followed by a deep dive into the season with a Survivor.
Okay. Followed by a deep dive of the season. What is that?
Is that a crack at the fact that these people had horrible dives in the reward challenge?
Yeah. A deep dive of the season, not being marketed as a reunion show. What do we think that third hour deep dive of the season looks like?
All right, so here's my theory, is that if the vote is being announced live, again, drop the 4, keep the 1. I really hope they do it Borneo style, where it cuts to this, let's say Ricard wins, and it cuts to this really awkward shot of Ricard sitting there holding the vote in his hand like Richard Hatch. And remember, then they're like, I can't believe I did it. I won $1 million. And I hope they also filmed all the finalists arriving at the airport and getting in the new card that they won as a result of winning Survivor. Like, really keep it in that hokey, shticky style from Survivor Borneo. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I am wondering, first, I said it would be an hour. I suspect like we'll probably see the finale run like 2.5 hours, and then we'll have like a 30-minute like follow-up of like Jeff like, wow, season 41, like we covered so many important topics, and then sort of like going back.
Here's a tier list of them.
Yeah, a lot of clips and maybe some new interviews like over like Zoom.
Okay, well here's my theory, is that I think if they do a vote reveal on the island, I think what they do, the reason why they're calling it a deep dive instead of a reunion, is that a reunion implies, okay, you've been away for months and now it's a reunion, you're coming back together. Deep dive to me, I think, is going to be a little bit more Big Brother style, where I think they're going to take the remaining people on the island. So that's going to be the jury plus the 3 finalists. And Jeff's going to sit them down. I don't know if it's immediately after the votes are read or like after they've showered or something. Give these people.
Oh, you think they recorded something in Fiji?
I think they did.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Now, are you saying this as a guess, or this is?
I'm saying that this is complete speculation on my part. Though I will let me plant the seed to fruitful into the $1 million insert Deshawn metaphor in here. I may or may not have an interview coming out in the next few days with the man himself, Grandpa Joe, Jeffrey Probst, previewing this finale. Because obviously he wanted to tease a bit of a format change. I think that is going to be the live vote reveal. And I think he has plans for the after show that will be revealed. So at the moment we are currently talking, I am not aware of it. At the moment people are listening to this, maybe I am. But at this specific timestamp, this is my complete guess, is that this is more of a immediate reflection upon the season. And that is why they're not calling it a reunion and more so a deep dive. Hey, we just had this season. Let's sit down and talk about it.
So, yeah, and my completely uninformed opinion is that I feel like that right after the season, you do not have like the ability to process what happened and what you went through. And I know that like they're on such a tight like turnaround to get people back to where they're supposed to be. And like I remember in Survivor the Amazon, like it was day 39, and like the next morning you're on the way out. That location is getting packed up. Everybody is flying back. Maybe they built this into the schedule because of the 26 days, but with the 2 weeks of quarantine, I kind of feel like that they're probably getting people like back home after this, still like 6 weeks experience. And so I suspect, if I had to guess what it is, I mean, maybe they did shoot something in Fiji, but I kind of feel like that it's going to be Jeff like hosting something where he is like talking to people, maybe pre-recorded, not live, where he's having like conversations with people, whether it's like sort of like via satellite, where people are sort of like in their local CBS studio where they're talking to Jeff and it looks like very polished and professional, or perhaps they're doing some sort of like a call where, they're able to talk to people about what has been the reaction to the season, because so much of this is like, all right, the reaction from the people on the street.
That's the quality.
What's been the reaction?
And especially with such an issues-driven season, beautifully so. I think we would be sorely missing that ability to be able to be like, hey, what has been the reaction to your reaction to the reaction, in a manner of speaking.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if they also felt, hey, you know what? We got the people right now. Let's get this thing in the can, almost to their detriment. I agree with you, Rob, that like, if I just won $1 million after surviving on basically nothing for 26 days, the last thing I'm going to want to do is sit down and have Jeff be like, so talk to me about what happened when you betrayed Shan on day 19. It's like, Jeff, just get me a cheeseburger. Get me a Casa de Charmin cheeseburger, please, Jeff.
And they're filming this like in April, so it's like, playing the game was such a thrill, but it's just going to be so great in December when we're all together and the pandemic is over, and it's just going to be, I can't wait to be there.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm really going to shoot my shot with Megan Fox. She won't be in a relationship whatsoever, and so I'm going to do all these great things.
Yeah, so we can make a lot more predictions on 2021, but let's not.
Exactly. But yeah, it's an interesting point. So I guess let's go with your theory for now, because I think it's the one that maybe is more viable. So if it's a deep dive, do things get really winnowed down there? Is it less about then a reunion? Is it more so like, okay, here is a Shan segment.
Yeah,
here is a Ricard segment.
Like, I wonder if you could get like, and again, depending on who the winner is, is it like, okay, well, let's, do we talk to, we're going to talk to the winner, Ricard, and do like 5 minutes with him. Then, it was such a big, like, do they talk to all 4 members of the Black Alliance about like, do they sort of like do it like in segments, and then do we want to like, or do we hear from like have everybody on a group call, and we could sort of then like, all right, let's go to Xander. Xander, okay, what do you think about blah, 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 blah?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think the group call they're not going to do. I think we saw that with the Winners of War reunion. Unfortunately, with that big segment we spent making a bingo card that got promptly thrown out the window, they were more so there to like say hi, feud style, and then disappear because it's too many people to keep track of. And so I do not think they would want to do that. That's another question. Is Jeff Probst building another studio in his garage, Rob? If they indeed
no, I don't think that they do this from the garage. I mean, I think that things have enough production has opened up since May 2000 that I think that 2020. I always say 2000 instead of 2020. That I think Jeff will be at a CBS facility doing his end with like actual camera people and stuff. No audience, but there will be like I think professional production people filming Jeff's end of the conversation.
Talk about drop the 4, keep the 1. You're regarding the year 2020 as 2000, like just reusing the same calendars.
I don't know why I keep going back to 2000 instead of saying 2020.
Yeah, you really have like sent your mind back there mentally. I mean, you're very different in many ways back then, but maybe you just don't want to imagine 2020.
It was a happier time, Mike.
In many ways, but it's like erase that too, and I think we find ourselves in a generally happier mood as a nation and as a planet. So
drop the 2, keep the 2000.
What is interesting though is I would agree with you typically. Like I'm thinking back to the Triple H finale, which was really a 2.5-hour finale with like 16 minutes was the reunion, if I recall. But it seemed like that ad that you played specifically said it would be a 2-hour finale. So like it does seem like we're gonna have a chunky deep dive, as it were.
Yeah, I think that maybe we'll go into like segments and like talk to different people.
You know what it'll be like? It'll be more like, I know I keep invoking Survivor Borneo, but whatever. It reminds me a lot of the Borneo reunion with Bryant Gumbel, which was
Friends
very much
and enemies.
Yep. Yeah, which is very much less like, the Jeff Probst, like, all right, we're going down the line, this one. And it was really more like segments, right? And I believe that did last. It was like a separate episode that aired for a full hour. I wonder if we're going to get something similar like that, almost like it's done like a talk show rather than sort of like a reality thrown together after show.
Okay. So we'll see. You want to make any predictions for what we're going to see on Wednesday?
Ooh, okay, this is fun. So you're talking placement, or are you talking like game mechanics, or what?
Like in terms of like what we're gonna see in the 1-hour deep dive.
Ooh, okay, yeah, let's do that. Let's make some. Let's put our money where our mouth is, Rob. Do or die. What are we going to see? I think we are going to see someone use the word monster.
Monster. Well, other than Jeff.
Ooh, no, you know what? Actually, can I redo? I'll call a redo on that one.
Yes.
Mulligan. Someone is going to say drop the 4, keep the 1.
Drop the 4, keep the 1.
That is one of the pieces of Jeff's parlance that has made its way into it, right? I feel like it's been said several times, whether it was Shan using a malapropism and saying drop the 4, hit the 1. I think that was something that stuck with a lot of survivors, and I feel like they're going to continue to say it.
Okay. Good. All right. Let's see. What else will we definitely get? Could we see a remix of the Shanthem?
Oh, I really like that. I could see this idea of like, we got someone to remix it.
Dave Grohl is here.
The Foo Fighters, and we're not talking first one out. I like it. I like a remix of the Shanthem.
All right. Remix. Okay.
We'll talk about, I think the Liana Xander dichotomy is going to be brought up.
Okay. Do we show the clip of Xander had a crush on Liana?
I do not think we do, but it also makes me realize in retrospect, it's very obvious that Xander would have held a torch for Liana, because that, my friend, is a Xandy crush.
Yes. Okay. Well done, Mike. Of course. We're never ones on this show to miss calling out a Xandy crush.
Speaking Actually, speaking of Xander for a second, a lot of
This is Xander candy.
a lot of people. Well, actually, speaking on that note, a lot of people are wondering what happened to Xander's idol. I have a theory.
Okay.
I think Xander ate his idol.
You think he ate the idol?
He is lacking for protein.
This is Xander candy.
I think, and let's also remember the fact that they went through Xander's bag and they found his idol and his extra vote. He knows the notion of propriety on Survivor is an ever small growing circle, right? There's only so many things you can keep hidden, but the one place they can't check is your insides. And so I think Xander swallowed his idol, feeling that no one would find it there on him, possibly take it from him, right? He's been there once before. Maybe it serves as an additional source of protein. I'm not sure what the materials are in there, but if people are wondering, where is Xander's idol? I would say somewhere in his lower digestive tract.
Oh my God.
And so I think if Xander plays it, that's going to be interesting, is it not?
How does he present it?
Jeff, I'm going to need some coconut and a magazine.
All right. Mike, have we talked enough about Ricard? That Ricard, I feel like that over the course of the day, where I felt like that, boy, Ricard has like a tough road to get to the end, even though he's most likely to win in the final three. Danny has come out and said that he doesn't think that Xander can do it. Or doesn't think that Xander would be a viable winner. I'm starting to feel better about Ricard.
Well, so the Ricard thing is really interesting because, again, I'm going to flash back here to when I was on the Survivor 35 feedback show. And I remember very much saying, I don't think Ben's winning because we had so many scenes of people saying, if Ben gets to the end, he wins. And why the hell would they spoil the ending for their own season? Lo and behold, I was incredibly incorrect with that. And I wonder if we're getting the same thing here, because you would, again, say on paper, we were told multiple times, if Ricard gets to the end, it's his to take. And I think you said that, I think Steven said this last night of like, why would they do that? Like then the final tribal council would be like so rote. The ending's already spelled out there for you. But again, like we said before, I was incorrect about this once more. Could this be another thing that they use moving forward of, yes, of course, Ricard won because everyone has been saying up to this point, if he makes it to the end, he wins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And maybe they could be building up Erika and the idea of like, well, could the jury vote for a woman potentially if Erika is there? If it's like Ricard and Erika and Heather, there could be some question of like, does the jury want to see a woman win the game? So that could be a reason why Ricard doesn't ultimately win.
But I really got to give it up to Ricard because look, the fun and frustrating thing about preseason is that there are so many claims that these people make that ultimately do not come to fruition. Danny, in fact, is one of them. You know, he told us, and he even, screenshotted my interview with him where he said, coming out there, I'm going to change the perception of what a threat is. I'm going to show that it's not necessarily the biggest guys you have to worry about. It's the puzzle people. It's the more social people. And Danny, I think, was able to prove that in a certain regard. But he told me actually,
Ricard.
Yeah, exactly. He actually told me, though, that like he actually didn't do what he intended to do because he actually found he was much more social than he thought he would be. And so it was almost like he didn't need to play down those aspects because he had these other aspects to play up. Ricard called it. He told us, all right, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be this like stealthy social guy pre-merge, and then post-merge, I'm going to turn it on and become a surprising challenge beast. And Ricard is 2 away from tying the male record for immunity wins in Survivor, which I don't think any of us would have expected this season. So, like, dude called his shot, and unlike JD, he hit it. It was money.
Money, yeah. I mean, Ricard has been so good over the course of the season that it's just been a question the last couple of weeks of, like, he's been so good. People know he's been so good. He's sort of been like the classic throwback Survivor player to me. And that's sort of like what sort of piqued my interest about Ricard from the get-go. And really, like, now everybody knows that he is sort of like the classic, like, old school Survivor schemer. Like, can he pull it off?
You know what it is to me that I love about Ricard? He combines the vocation and the strategic ability of Todd Herzog with the snark of Courtney Yates. And I think that's what I really love about Ricard is, to be honest, I think Ricard is one of the biggest shit talkers in confessionals that I've heard in quite some time in Survivor.
Well, but let's not sleep on Todd as sort of being snarky and a crap talker in confessionals as well.
That's true, but I think Courtney was much more well known for that, was she not?
Sure, but she would also say it to people's faces, I feel like, which I think Ricard does much less of that.
That's another interesting prediction as well, right? So many people, including Deshawn, told us preseason, like, well, I'm going to be really nice to the everyone else, but I'm going to be naughty behind the scenes, a freak in the sheets, as it were, in terms of confessionals. Cue Bryce Isaiah. But like, I feel like Ricard was one of the only people to really live up to that, of like, man, what he says has been so cutting the entire time, to the point where people, from an edit perspective, doubt the viability of his win, because they feel like, oh, he's been like way too catty, I think, towards certain people. But to be honest, I would love that from a winner, because again, I don't want that polish. Like, I don't need the veneer. Give me the real coat of paint shining through. Give me that shiny, lusty gray in Ricard.
Yes. Mike, going back to predictions for the deep dive. Okay. Does Jeff speak with Sydney?
Ooh, no.
No, you don't think she gets any sort of run here in the finale?
I think Sydney pulls the Whitney from Big Brother 23 and is like, I've got something to say, and I can't wait to say it, and does not get the real estate to say that thing. I really do think that, like, I wonder how much the pre-merge will be considered here for a number of reasons. And I think a lot of issues-oriented stuff came out in the post-merge. I think there's maybe some story stuff you can touch on. Maybe, you know what? Let's add this to the list. Jeff makes mention of the age of our 3 20-year-olds.
Okay.
I think could be a thing, right? Of like, let's talk to our 20-year-olds, the youngest players in Survivor, bringing in a new generation of people.
Do we get a segment on the game within the game?
Ooh,
Does Jeff talk directly to the youngsters at home in the 10 o'clock hour, when I'm sure that they on a Wednesday night, when I'm sure they're all still awake? Does Jeff talk directly to the game within a game players?
Yeah, I love it. Like, hey, I know you're all
season.
hopped up on caffeine.
You've all been playing along, and you're all future Survivor players.
Well, okay. Speaking of that, again, not to take us off the road some more. This is a very windy road. Should I reveal something? Should I give a spoiler alert for the game within the game that might tie into said finale?
Okay, Mike Bloom has should I play the spoiler alert music?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, here we go. Game within the game. Spoilers!
Spoiler!
The Office of Civil Defense has issued the following message. This is
a spoiler.
Warning.
A spoiler.
Warning means that an actual
spoiler
against this country has been detected, and that protective action should be taken.
Yes! All right.
I put spoilers on my factory.
Yes.
They look so cool that way. Reminds me of when I was hot rod dragging to get Sandy back from that pimple-faced geek.
Some of the poultry is spoiled, but don't tell the children.
Exactly. So all season long, there's been the game within the game puzzles. I will say the most recent one was actually very flash in the pan, very blink and you miss it. I think it was I'll go tally the votes.
Yes.
But if you solve them all, every week there were letters, a series of letters were given away.
That's what Deshawn was asking for.
Here are your Deshawn, you want your letters from home? Sure. W, T, O, S. There you go, smartass. It produced, I believe, actually, fittingly enough, 41 letters that you had to unscramble. The Nancy Drews at Survivor Reddit did it, Rob.
Yeah.
You want to know the final phrase?
What is it?
Be sure to drink your Ovaltine. No, it's not that. It is, your treasure hangs where the trees love to dance. Your treasure hangs where the trees love to dance. This is not a phrase you say to unlock an immunity idol. But ironically enough, though, I think what a lot of people are speculating is that it might have something to do with an advantage, because we know from the next time on, they are on a brand new island.
Yeah.
But they're going on
your treasure hangs.
where the trees love to dance. Yes, it does sound like, I don't know,
A pickup line at a bar.
I mean, something's hung there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It sounds like Bob Dylan lyrics, from like his B
Your
side.
treasure hangs where the true.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that what it implies is we get this wild goose chase in the finale, right? Like it seems like there seems to be some hunt for an advantage. They feel like it's a new island. I really hope, by the way, it's in the desiccated post-apocalyptic ruins of the Island of the Idols, right?
Yes,
Where, like, almost out of the Planet of the Apes, the Rob and Sandra heads are
been knocked over.
You animals!
Hey, I can't believe what you did to my head.
Yeah, imagine Boston Rob shows up on horseback, like tries to take him captive. But it seems like there's going to be a hunt for an idol there. So what if this is the phrase? Like, what if the advantage is hanging where the trees love to dance?
But why does that matter to me? The game within the game player. I'm not in the game. Why? Like, I've unscrambled the clue.
That's like screw do or die. That's the subtitle of Survivor 41. Why does this matter to me?
Well, I don't understand. What would be the relevance of, like, is Jeff's going to say, all right, there's a scramble for a word. You have to unscramble. The people at home, if they've been playing the game within a game, they already know it. So, like, what do I care?
I think it's really to demean the contestants, right? Like, congratulations, an 8-year-old beat you to this faster than you did. I have no idea. Well, I think the entire onus of the game within the game, right, is to foster this new community of younger generation players, right? Like the entire time, every time you solve a puzzle, Jeff says, "All right, now solve it, and remember." And
I'm going to be yelling at you.
Yeah, like for some reason, he really creates this image of like, I'm breathing over your shoulder, right? Like I'm your Babadook. I'm appearing in the basement.
I'm giving you tough love because you need it.
Exactly. Like Heather, every step you take, every move you make, I'll be watching you. Feel that sting. But it's interesting. Like he creates this image. So maybe he's trying to be like, you're the Survivor player, so you win this clue. But yeah, it's odd now to then also put this clue in the hands of the players as well. It's supposed to be, I guess, a sneak peek of the finale, but a very vague one at that.
This game is child's play. And to illustrate that, children have already finished this puzzle.
To illustrate it, here's our new twist is a demonic doll that's going to come out and chase you. That's the monster. It's been Chucky the entire time.
It should be just like taking candy from a baby.
This is Xander candy.
Yeah, exactly. That's how he got his empire. He took chicken from babies, and that's how he built his millions. This is wild speculation. Now, this is obviously not going to be in the deep dive, but apparently, if we're looking for one more advantage, and that's another thing that, like, again, I think we've lucked out this season that Xander passed something up under the bench. You would imagine, given his accelerated age, that he'd love to sit on benches for a while. Apparently, he did not find something under there. Danny passed something by in this past episode. If people aren't able to figure out that the treasure hangs where the trees like to dance, they might miss an opportunity here as well.
The treasure hangs where the trees like to dance. Okay.
Sounds like someone, if you like pulled someone aside on like an ayahuasca trip and they're like, hey man, do you know where I can get to, I don't know, the Denny's from here? Like, well, the treasure hangs where the trees love to dance. It's like, oh, okay, you're supposed to go to Elm Street.
It sounds like one of like the cockamamie sayings that you have to say to get an idol. Maybe somebody will have to unscramble that and then say it at tribal council to get an idol.
Your treasure hangs where broccoli loves to dance and then being small trees.
Yeah. Mike, you don't think that Jeff will want to do a segment on how they changed Come On In Guys, do you?
Oh, boy. This is tough. Because
we made history this season when we changed one of Survivor's most iconic phrases.
You know, maybe that's another reason why Deshawn spoke up about worth playing for, is because, like, the temperamentality of Jeff's parlance has certainly already been modified with the Come On In. Maybe Deshawn thought everything was open season of, like, actually, Jeff, it's not worth playing for. I know you always ask that, and let me answer, no. So go ahead and change it. That would be odd. Maybe Jeff starts with "Come On In" to like welcome everybody into the deep dive.
Show. Yeah,
I don't know if he would mention that. I think.
Do you think? Okay, will we get interstitials of Jeff during the 2-hour pre-taped finale, where it's like, all right, hey, it's finale night. Call your friends.
Yeah, That's interesting because I feel like the image that I always get during those interstitials is like Jeff on the move. Like I always think of when the camera follows him through the studios.
Like, look, we've got survivors here. They're playing games. Look, here's Cesternino and Andrea and Cochran.
Yeah, so
Whoa,
like,
who
what would
cares?
he do? What would he do this time? Would he like put stand-ins in of like, here's the cardboard cutout of Boston Rob standing there? Look, he might have been there if you close your eyes and imagine hard enough. I'm just not sure where he would take it to warrant those interstitials. You know what? Actually, maybe what he would do is sometimes, you know, when he brings people out on the stage to do like those weird pseudo exit interviews during the reunion, maybe we insert Zoom interviews, like pre-recorded Zoom interviews. Like if Ricard gets voted out in 5th, maybe we do an interview with Ricard.
Yeah, I could see that.
That's interstitial.
I could see it. Okay.
Yeah. Or maybe, again, we just save it for the deep dive of like, we've got too much going on in this 2-hour episode. We should also mention here, so this... and
Save
Jeff
some deep dives for us, Jeff.
Yeah, please. Don't take our money here, Jeff. You're robbing us of our meals. We can't order from the Survivor menu.
Yeah, save some Xander candy for the rest of us.
I got a sweet tooth for Survivor. It's interesting because I think...
Can I have a deep dive? You can have this fake.
No, but you can have this fake deep dive. I'll give you a bunch of fake facts about what happened. It's interesting because I think there's a lot of speculation, even coming out of last night, about what's going to happen. In fact, some people were, I think, trying to will a final 2 into existence.
Yeah,
which I sadly think we are past that age in modern day U.S. Survivor. I think it makes sense that, especially, you know, the Island of the Idols was a final 5 with the final 3. I think they were able to get a lot of mileage out of that wild goose chase. I think we're going to get that here as well. There will be plenty of content to cover a 3-hour block with this deep dive. I know you talked about this last week. I don't think there's going to be any extra bells and whistles.
Yeah, if you really want a final 2, hope for a medical evacuation from one of the finalists on
hope
day
someone
26.
breaks a leg on this new island.
Like when Aris broke the champagne glass and almost had to be medevaced. That's the only way I think you're going to get a final 2.
Oh, do you think like this is the most dangerous season ever? You want your breakfast? Walk across this broken glass to get to it.
Yes, I think so. Hey, drop the 4, keep the 1. I mean, they had to walk across hot coals in season 1 to get to the final 3 challenge. Yeah. Mike, do you think? Okay. Go ahead. Do you feel like that we will get a 42 teaser?
Ooh, that is a very good question because obviously with the 41 stuff, you know, we couldn't get anything because there was no 41 when 40 had finished up to really get a teaser of anything. If I recall correctly, I believe the first 2 minutes of 41, like the teaser had dropped during the TCA panel, I want to say, at that summer's thing for CBS. I could see it where viably we could, like, I'm assuming that the season is in the can. The question is, how are they going to edit it? Is it going to be a typical thing, or is it going to be like a Lars von Trier film where it's just a bunch of, like, you know, vague shots of objects, like how the season opened? That's supposed to be hints as to what we're going to get.
Well, it's very hard to tease a season that doesn't have a theme, where presumably I would imagine season 42 does not have a theme, like Survivor is back for its 42nd season. And the shot in the dark, it will be back. And new players will be on the adventure of a lifetime. And it'll be dangerous.
I'll be there too.
The monster is back, hungry for more.
I mean, I could see something where they're like, dangerous new twist that changed the game more than ever, and then cut to a shot of, I don't know, more iconography, like a skull winking at us.
I can't believe that this is happening.
Yeah, or like, and then close-up shots, right, of VOs with people being like, this has never happened before. This changes everything, where we get like several shots of players that people can fawn over for the next 3 months or so. I could very much expect that. Or Rob, listen, if we're talking about going incredibly vague and off the mark, we have had this before. Let's not remember the Survivor Caramoan reunion, but let's remember the Survivor Caramoan reunion. Remember Jeff Probst doing his own game within a game?
Yeah, blood versus water.
Here's your first
What do you think it is?
Red drop. Please let us know.
Ooh, okay.
maybe we do something similar here of like, you know what, we've got something going on in season 42, and here's a little teaser of a new twist, and it's just like, I don't know, a ripped flag waving in the wind while someone talks over it saying, help, and that's it.
Yeah, maybe it'll be a song again.
You know what? So we had Winners at War. We did have, I think, a licensed song for the commercials for 41.
Right.
I believe they didn't just use "Turn It Up, We're Gonna Celebrate" like they did for all the other.
People thought it was like a
commercials.
Sia song.
Yeah. So maybe we'll have another one for 42, or maybe we just co-opt the Shantham for 42. Waste not, want not.
Okay. We will see what happens if we get our teaser coming up on Wednesday night.
Do you want to call your shot, or are you shot in the dark? How do you think the finale is going to go? Like, do you have a sense, trying to read these very incredibly muddled tea leaves, as to how you think everything's going to shake out?
I think, I guess to give my official prediction, I think that Ricard, I've gone back and forth. I feel like that my prediction number one is that Ricard somehow, by hook or by crook, ends up maybe finding an idol, an advantage to get through the final five.
He looks where the trees love to dance.
Yes.
And Ricard does love to dance. So I think he has a head up.
If we're looking for a problem solver in the group, while Ricard has not been an idol finder this season, he has been like the person that you want solving a puzzle. So if there is a puzzle required to solve to get an advantage, I think Ricard ultimately can get through the final five vote. And whether he wins immunity or makes the fire, I think he gets to the final three and he can do it. If Ricard does not do that, then I think Erika is my pick to win.
All right. You ready? Sorry to spoil this for you people, but I have the exact way the Survivor 41 finale is going to play out. Hopefully you'll still watch the 2 hours for the deep dive, but maybe you don't need to, because I'm about to paint a beautiful picture for you all with my words. Here's what happens. Final five. Ricard, surprise, surprise, wins immunity. Oh, crap. What happens now? Super easy. Everyone feels like, okay, we got to beat Ricard in the next immunity challenge. There is the final three of the Chicken Alliance. And so who has to fall but Heather? Heather, unfortunately, becomes our 5th place boot in this case, just voted out simply because she's not up to snuff with the challenges as much as Jeff encourages her to be. It's almost a bit out of like Samoa as well, right? Like Russell voting off Shambo and Jason because they're least likely to beat Brett. We get to final four. Stunner, Erika wins the final immunity challenge.
Wow.
She brings Xander with her because she has a choice to make. She's like, okay, do I bring Deshawn with me? Do I bring Xander with me? Flashback, episode 2. First scene at Luvu. Deshawn striking Flint furiously. He can't make the fire. He tells Erika, well, if you're going to send somebody into fire making, maybe it should be me. Erika does just that.
Wow.
She sends Deshawn into fire making, but this time he prevails. He
beats Ricard.
He beats Ricard at fire making. He sums up all the skills that he has built up throughout. Yeah, maybe on day 3, Deshawn.
Oh, Mike, you muted yourself. You got so excited that you muted yourself. You're still muted. We'll cut this out of the podcast. Okay. On the video version. Mike, he's never giving up. His microphone is muted, but he's not stopping. Mike's working furiously to get his audio back. He might have to leave the StreamYard and come back in. He's gone, but he's not giving up. You have to love this perseverance from Magic Mike Bloom. He's back. Here he comes. Does he have his sound? If he has it, he's got it.
I've got it. Woo!
Mike, finish making your point. You were about to tell us what was going to happen.
You never give up in the art of
never
podcasting.
Give up. Okay,
when you get an awkward error.
I'm going to cut that out of the video.
Thank you very much.
I'm cutting it out of the audio. All right. So you were about to say that Deshawn was going to win the final 4 fire making.
Deshawn can't do it on day 3. But you better believe he does it on day 25. This is a journey, man, and he went on a journey, man.
So did you.
Yeah, exactly. Very much so over the course of this past 5 seconds. He makes fire. He beats Ricard. He does the thing that nobody else was able to do. And here is this final 3 that was just talked about in this episode. 3 different stories, 3 very different people. And it's a big discussion as to how does Deshawn's sloppiness, but out front aspects compare with Erika's maybe more behind the scenes, low key or lucky aspects compared to Xander's underdog story, yet perhaps overall aloofness. It's a real battle between these 3 ideals, much like outwit, outplay, outlast lobsters. But in the end, when the votes are tallied by a close vote of 5-3, our hopes are dashed for a female winner once more, as Deshawn Radin, emblematic of the beautiful mess that he just spoke about, in a word, or to several words, season 41 is a beautiful mess, my friends. And so I think it only makes sense that the man coins the term for the season that he wins.
Wow. Okay. I love it. Mike, that would be an exciting finale. And Deshawn, I think, would be a very fun winner.
I think he'd be a very fun... I think any of these people would be fun winners because I think they're not very typical. I think if you walk into a Survivor season and you say who's going to win this, I think looking at a lot of these people, you would not necessarily say that these are the chalk picks to make a finale, let alone win. And I like bringing that idea back to Survivor. I think with a lot of changes that production has made as of late, it has sort of fostered this mentality in a lot of people of like, all right, well, only one type of person can win Survivor, when that should be far from the case. The onus of Survivor should be, depending on the people, depending on the season, depending on what happens, anybody can win, depending on your story, your strategy, etc. And I hope that continues to hammer home, and that in a new era, maybe we honor a new type of gameplay compared to what we've had recently.
All right. Great job, Mike. We'll have to see how it all plays out this Wednesday night. I was going to skip it, but now I have to see how it's going to play out.
At least to see how, how much my predictions shake out. Now, look.
So Sia, to see how that, what does Sia weigh in season 41, that in the deep dive, is Sia handing out a check? If so, to whom?
Well, let's see. I mean, Tiffany did request the money in her
Xander
Ponderosa.
ate way too many animals. Sorry, Xander. True. You are out.
Yeah, listen, like he almost got Augustus gloomed out, right? His own gluttony for chicken, I think, undoes
This is Xander candy.
Yeah, well, no Sia money. Enjoy that Xander candy.
It doesn't hit her Sia wheat tooth. So unfortunately, you are out of luck there.
Can I have that Sia money? No, but you could have this fake Sia money.
Exactly. I would imagine that if she does, I think she would give it to Shan. I think Shan loomed so large. I would say the character of the season, the breakout person. That, like, I would imagine Sia often I think Sia's a little casual sometimes with some of her takes, and so I think it makes sense.
Let me give you some other off the board picks for Sia money. Okay.
Please do.
I Sia loving the Nasir.
Ooh, Nasia. Oh, and it works right there.
He is as confused as a goat on AstroTurf. Sia loves animals.
That is very true.
Think of some of the past recipients. Sia wanted to give money to Keith Nail. She gave money to Donathan. Sort of like a lovable Survivor cutie pie.
Now, but
Nasir.
let me also point out, Sia has given money to Donathan. Sia has given, the first recipient was Ty. Sia gave some money to Elaine. Sia gave some money to Aurora. She's also a big fan of the LGBTQ plus community. Could
that was going to be my next pick.
Could Evie be getting some flow? Yeah.
Yes. So did we mention Shan?
Shan was the main one that I mentioned.
Shan, Nasir, Evie, Nasir. Yeah.
No, I think Liana's got to be up there, right? I think
you think so?
I think specifically based on what she said in her final tribal council, I think that draws a lot of attention onto Liana, and I could see Sia, because let's remember that now Sia is almost like apportioning out the prizes, like it's almost in the reverse era of the challenge, where the challenge used to like tier out its money and now give it to one person. Now she's doing the opposite.
I feel like that unless she gives money to Shan and Liana. Like, I kind of think that she's going to hit Shan before she hits Liana.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about, like, does Danny get some of that?
No, I think that she probably sees that he's a professional athlete.
You got enough money in the bank, Danny.
I mean, look, I don't know what his personal finances. Danny did say in his Ponderosa he wanted to come home and say, "Honey, we got another $1 million." But
yeah, another being the operative word there.
Yeah,
another one. To quote DJ Khaled, hit player of that Brand Steel we did earlier on in the year.
Ricard, also certainly that that he could get as the. Shan, she is giving money to Rick Devens. She does, she likes to see people play hard.
Yeah, and Rickard. She likes to honor the fallen angels. I agree, and I think if Rickard does indeed follow my predictions, and he is one, I think that makes sense. I mean, not a lot of tweeting from Sia about Survivor. Listen, it hasn't been a great year for Sia in general, so I also would not be surprised if either A, she skips the ceremony entirely, or B, she goes overboard trying to prove her goodwill by giving away butt tons of cash.
Okay. You don't think like Todrick Hall shows up, or is there a new famous Survivor super fan?
Well, I think if Todrick Hall shows up, he's like, well, I'm looking for some items that went missing from my house. Has anyone seen this lamp?
Yeah, but you don't think that there is another new Survivor superfan ready to take the Sia mantle?
Oh, Sia Mantle sounds like a drag queen name.
It was such an exciting time for Survivor. So many new celebrity superfans talked about their watching the show.
Who is that? Like Rachel Brosnahan? Who's the new celebrity Survivor fan? Is it Matthew McConaughey?
I don't know. Does he want to give out some money?
Yeah, I'd be like, you know what? He'd give it to Xander, right? He's like, Xander, I got a feeling you've been dipping into the same things I've been dipping into, bud.
These 20-year-old Survivor players, I keep getting old and they keep staying the same age.
Or do you think Matthew McConaughey begins to grease the wheels at a possible gubernatorial campaign? It's like, Danny, I love a Texan. Why don't you take all this money, man? Here's another $1 million.
Yeah. All right. Hold on. I think I've McConaughey. Yeah, hold on. Danny, that you were a cowboy. Well, I was from Dallas Buyers Club.
By the way, that movie is not about cowboys. Yeah, I also wonder. So Danny had those final words, right, where he points and says, "Go Cowboys," and winks. So it has come out that was not to Deshawn, as we may have
Xander.
Thought. It was to Xander, like what you said about Cowboys. Do you think Xander interpreted to mean that Danny loves season 13 contestant Cowboy?
Yeah, I don't know. Did he tell Xander that he was a football player?
So they were calling him Coach. Coach McRae. So I think like Xander really believed that he was a coach. So maybe this was Danny sort of like winking a nod to make
not
the
to be
reveal
confused with BB-15 McRae.
Yes, exactly. No delivering pizzas for him. Hopefully not to Ricard, given I think the composition of his pizzas. We'll talk about that in a little bit, I'm assuming. And actually, speaking of Danny's Ponderosa for a second, so his fun little thing that he got to do this time was he played rugby, right? He played rugby with the resort manager.
Yes.
And this really made me realize, I think if CBS ever becomes creatively bankrupt, they could really get a series going.
That's not what the letters stand for, is it?
No, that's the letters from home to Sean. Creatively BS. I think we could get a Ted Lasso show of Danny going to Fiji and playing rugby.
Okay, so he is the titular Ted Lasso?
Yeah, like he's, got that Southern genteel charm.
And who's Coach Beard?
I think that could be Rupert.
Okay. All right. Mike, are you ready to get into some Survivor social media? We still have a lot of things to cover.
Oh, please. Let's check another thing off the list.
You're doing okay?
Oh, I am better than okay.
You don't need to stop and get some chicken and vegetables or Xander candy or
No, I'm filled to the brim. All I need is letters from home to keep me going. That's my sustenance. I eat the paper.
Okay. All right. Jacob Sager-Weinstein is here to help us to set up a supersized Survivor social media.
TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, they connect you to your friends. Rob Mike Bloom has told me he won't take you to the end.
What? You just dropped that truth bomb right now on me, Jacob. What?
I'm gonna put my metaphoric virtual hand on your knee, and you're welcome, buddy. You're welcome.
Yeah. Okay. Mike, we have been talking about a lot of different famous people, famous Survivor fans, and there has been like some talk for many, many years about like, would we ever see celebrities playing Survivor? And so the rumor mill, and I don't know if this is official yet, has been in overdrive this week. I think this is going to be news to a lot of our listeners about how there is a new alleged project in the works from CBS where that they are going to be taking celebrities to play in a Survivor-like competition that it is called Beyond the Edge, and it's coming to CBS this spring.
Yeah, so this raises many questions. First of them being, what?
Yes, yes.
What is this? What is going on? It seems like we, for lack of a better term, are getting some version of a celebrity Survivor, something we never thought would happen.
Okay, so this first got reported the other day. TMZ, I think, had it first that CBS was going to be sending some celebrities to play in a Survivor-like competition. And my first thought was that the network perhaps wanted Celebrity Survivor, and Survivor said, that's not our show. We don't want to do that. And they said, okay, well, we're going to make it then. And so that's where this came from. But then more details have come to light. And according to a article that was from Deadline, they are reporting, Peter White reports, and I don't know any relation to Mike White, Beyond the Edge, CBS takes celebrities to Panama in reality series from Jeff Probst and Renegade 83. Now,
Renegade 83 also sounds like the username of like someone who teabags you in Halo.
I was going to say, big Dan Giesling stan. So, all right. A Survivor style show. Deadline understands that Survivor host and executive producer Jeff Probst has been involved in the project. CBS declined to comment. So again, I don't know if this is officially greenlit, but Mike, this is wild that Jeff Probst is creatively helping CBS with a project that's like celebrity, not Survivor.
Yeah, I have
like, I'm a celebrity, get me out of here.
So we had 2 seasons of that, right? Like that featured previous RHAP staple Spencer Pratt, I believe, was a part of that. I remember Lou Diamond Phillips, I think, won the first season. Sanjaya was a contestant, if I recall correctly. And I recall it not truth bombing, but bombing fairly considerably in the States. So it'd be odd to bring it back, even though it sounds like a very similar formula, right? That was Survivor-like, that was more viewer votes than contestant votes, and it involved a celebrity type of culture. The Jeff involvement really intrigues me because it sounds like he's not attached to hosting, especially given the fact that if it's filming in April, that definitely conflicts with filming of Survivor 43.
Is it filming or airing in April?
Oh, I guess it would be. Oh, I think it already filmed, actually, right? Doesn't TMZ say it already filmed like in October or something?
Oh my God, and they kept it under wraps?
Apparently, this thing's a mummy. In many ways, that it's being unearthed in this regard. So, yeah, I don't know. Was Jeff Probst like taking a yacht from social media for that time?
And boy, does Jeff love the idea of the Edge. I mean, 2 seasons of The Edge of Extinction, this show Beyond the Edge.
Now, wait, could this be this sort of idea, right, of like, hey.
He loves edging.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, Lord. Oh, God. Oh, come on, God. Oh, come on, God.
I like what you said about edging.
Oh boy. Yeah, I've been talking about seeing something to completion. Yeah, I think that, Jeff does not able to see that idea though,
It's
right?
so close.
Like, he came to you and was like, I know it's not happening, okay? I know you all hate the Edge, so it's not happening anymore. Could this be like his version of I'll have my own, religion, but with blackjack and hookers of like, you don't want this? Fine. I'll have my own show.
I'll make my own show. And it's going to be all the Edge.
It's only the Edge. The camera, you won't see anybody's arms or legs. It's only going to be on their face the entire time. 13 hours of faces.
Yes. Okay. So, yeah, the project is believed to have been shot in Panama. Now, again, Panama, as somebody who, we did Survivor All-Stars in Panama, if you wanted to, get to a Survivor location that would be like 2 hours from Miami, Panama is where you would do it. And according to this, was filmed in September and October this year. According to TMZ, all right.
Always words you should take cautiously.
According to the TMZ, Harvey and the crew over there, they are reporting a number of celebrity names attached to the project, including former Celebrity Big Brother contestant, Meta World Peace.
How did they like convince this man that he was going on vacation and then, sign him up for Survivor? That's the only reason I can imagine Meta World Peace wanting to do this show. The man wanted to quit Celebrity Big Brother. How in God's name is he signing up?
Are you rooting for to win this?
I love Shannon first. I love Shannon so much.
Out of everyone who's left in the game.
That's what Meta World Peace is. Meta World Peace is going to snuff his own torch. He's going to be like, Jeff spoke with the tribe. Snuff. No, Meta. I do that, please. And you're not eliminated. You actually voted correctly. Please sit down. I don't know what on earth Meta World Peace is doing.
Yeah.
In general, and also on competition reality shows.
Former NFL star Ray Lewis. Are you familiar with Ray Lewis?
Oh, yeah. He's a Raven, and he can, for lack of a better term, get away with murder. So I think he might do well in the game.
Then also, Ebony K. Williams of the Real Housewives of New York.
Oh, a Roni type. That's very fun. Real Housewives have good traction on these types of shows.
Yes.
So that should be fun.
Model Paulina Porzivkova. Model.
Porzivkova, more so?
Porzivkova. Yeah. The always popular Colton Underwood.
Oh boy. I'd rather have another Underwood on my screen, personally.
And then get this. Full House and Fuller House's Jodie Sweetin.
Well, you know what she's saying when she gets her torch snuffed.
How rude.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Everywhere you look, there's a twist.
Exactly.
This isn't it, right? It's not just that, like, we're going to get to know these 6 people up close and personal.
Well, no matter how long she lasts on the island, she'll get a lot tanner. That's good.
Yeah, and then when she goes to Ponderosa, she'll get a lot more fuller.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, don't step on me, okay? Please. I'm talking right now. I'm imagining it's just not these 6, unless this is like This Surreal Life, which I did realize that Renegade 83, the troll company, I believe they did previously work on Naked and Afraid and This Surreal Life. So maybe they are actually going for that type of angle, and it's less so about voting each other out. Maybe it's like they spent a week out there, because that's the other thing as well, right? Like the Celebrity Survivor season, there was always qualms about like, well, it would have to be a reduced number of days. Is NPH really going to go out there for the full 39-day experience? But now the shortened time frame has now been used for Survivor proper. So like, how can you walk that back even further for celebrities? I guess you have to do like a 2-week period.
Okay. All right. So we'll see. That exciting prospect to have Beyond the Edge coming to CBS spring of 20. It's gonna be a jam-packed year on CBS.
Why are they doing this in April 20? Like, there's gonna be a season of Survivor already airing. Why are they choosing to air this?
Maybe it'll be on right after Survivor.
Double Survivor, double Island Chat.
Or I wonder, Mike, could Could it be Paramount Plus?
That is interesting. A lot of people have said that there should be more Survivor content on Paramount Plus. Of course, next week, Survivor South Africa and New Zealand are coming to Paramount Plus, in addition to the Australian Survivor that already exists. They, of course, made that move over with the Challenge All-Stars. This might be our first dose of Survivor, or I guess Survivor adjacent Paramount Plus exclusive content of, hey, you know what's going to get people paying $7.99 a month? Jodie Sweetin and Meta World Peace.
Okay. Have I told you that my kids binged all of Full House and Fuller House in the last 2 weeks?
No, but I am so keen to find out all
they
their
love
thoughts.
it. They love it.
Like sincerely.
Sincerely, that my son doesn't want to get a haircut because he says he wants to grow his hair like Uncle Jesse.
Okay, well, when you touch it, they go, not the hair, huh? Do you think Jeff Probst said that about his mullet?
I don't know. Yeah.
And the contestants are saying, Jeff, have mercy. Please give us something to eat.
Yeah. You're in big trouble, mister. That's it. All right. You got it, dude. Mike, I've got another article here about some more CBS reality. Celebrity Big Brother 3. I have Survivor feedback, but we're 3 hours in. Let us do what we want, okay? We're having fun, okay?
3 for you, 1 for us.
Okay. So Celebrity
Willy Wonka
Big Brother
thing was definitely for you.
Yeah. Celebrity Big Brother 3 is around the corner. Screen Rant published an article this week. Christine Persad that Christine
You're
has
having a hell of a time with last names today, Rob.
Christine is tapped in to 10 rumored house guests for Celebrity Big Brother 3 with a little bit of a Survivor feel here.
Oh, okay. Give me the list. Give me some of
Well,
those
let me tell you some of the non-survivors.
Which Full House cast member?
No, no other members of the Full House, but I can tell you some other some others that are out here. Okay. So we have former Celebrity Apprentice alum Clay Aiken.
Ah, yes. Will he come in second place as he always does from American Idol to Celebrity Apprentice to that campaign he ran in North Carolina?
Sure.
The man is destined to be a silver medalist.
Right. So Christine says Kellyanne Conway in the mix. Tiffany Pollard, always rumored. Lisa Rinna, Scott Disick.
As in Kourtney Kardashian's ex?
Yes. Jax Taylor in the mix. Todrick Hall. Kim Chi.
Well, he's looking for a new house.
Yeah, Kim Chi, RuPaul's Drag Race alum.
Amazing.
Miranda Cosgrove, allegedly.
iCarly.
Yeah. And then also, according to Christine Persad, Boston Rob Mariano. Christine writes, one of the names that frequently appears on rumored lists to be a potential competitor includes including Flick Prime. I guess that's another publication. Is Boston Rob Mariano, a legend? Yeah, a legend from Survivor. Mariano has some amazing moments on Survivor during his 5 times playing. He finally won Survivor Redemption Island. He also appeared on Survivor Island of the Idols as a mentor to new players. Known for his ruthless gameplay and smart strategy, as well as his talent for solving puzzles, Mariano would be perfect for Big Brother. He's also very familiar with the game, even breaking down episodes on his podcast. Rob has a podcast. With that said, if others have watched Survivor, chances are he would have a big target on his back right from the get-go.
I feel incredibly honored to be part of your announcement, Rob, that you indeed, Rob Mariano, will be a part of Celebrity Big Brother. It's odd for you to announce this. Usually you have to sign NDAs, but sorry, Screen Rant got you out. They just used their knowledge as power and got that information out of you.
I'm just here to say that the reports of my pregame alliance with Kellyanne Conway are ill-founded. I definitely do not have a pregame alliance with Kellyanne Conway.
But what about that final 2 with Scott Disick? I know it's happening.
How
is this still happening? How is this still happening? This is decades old. at this point, people are saying like, oh, the whole Rob that sucks thing, it still doesn't happen. No. This is a tale as old as time. This keeps happening. The more things change, the more they stay the same. You keep getting mistaken for Boston Rob on several major publications.
Should I reply to Christine and say that I am going to play in Big Brother?
I think you should say like, hope there's plenty of pasta pots.
Pasta pots.
For that cooking that you're going to do as Boston
Oh, yeah,
Rob.
she didn't even mention pasta. She said that she plugged my podcast, but not his cookbook.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, it's not out of the question for Boston Rob to be a part of it. He was on that secret celebrity renovation show that I interviewed him for. So, like, CBS regards him as a celebrity. So maybe they should buy a lot of those pasta pots and bring him in. Though I think they will be sorely disappointed when they're like, are you going to talk about this on your podcast? He's like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah. So, all right. So, Boston Rob, host of Rob is a Podcast. I mean, I could run with this. Like, if people would like, when they complain about Rob as a podcast, if you can find me on Twitter, I'm at Boston Rob.
Oh, you've really moved up from Pineapple Boy. Just to straight up real people at this point.
Yeah. You could tweet me. I'm at Boston Rob. I'm probably not going to write you back.
Hey, Cesternino, why did Renegade 83 tweet me saying you were too down on one person's game?
Yeah, why don't they say I'm gonna go beyond the edge?
Yeah, that's true as well. Maybe they're just trying to spread the wealth with Robs as much as possible.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So thanks to Jessica Leese, who was the first person to flag that and send it our way. Speaking of Jess, she also flagged that Ricard. I'm not sure who this was. Who was the purple puzzle?
Oh, the purple puzzle was Ricard's. Yeah.
Ricard. At one point, Ricard had the upside down U in his puzzle.
Oh yeah, Ricard is the purple puzzle badass, as it were. And he's the freak of the season, right? So I guess that does make sense in so many ways. And purple does prevail again, right? That is the prevailing theory. Yeah, look at Ricard. I mean, this is also how you know these are true super fans of the show, right? They see an upside down U. You got to think that's the flashback to Ben Bergen. Is that what Danny meant when he said "Go Cowboys"? Was he making a reference to Ben in that moment?
Was Ben the cowboy?
Yeah, I mean, he had a cowboy hat.
I guess so. So we'll see. Maybe that's foreshadowing that Ricard is going to be the winner.
Yeah, of like, hey, all the best winners, they have toothpicks in their mouths, much like Ricard did in a previous episode, and they like to get involved in upside down U's. That's the hallmark of a Survivor winner at this point.
Mike, can I play for you the Survivor social media team? They're trying some new stuff here. It's the new era of Survivor. They put out a video this week talking about a new Survivor workout plan.
Does it involve Heather? Around the corner. Is it just Jeff encouraging Heather along and all Heather-based exercises?
Maybe too many people have been eating too much Xander candy, want to take off some extra pounds. Here is let's play a little bit of this and then we can react to it.
Spend a ton of time watching Survivor, which is why we're helping them get back up and moving. Introducing the Survivor Workout Method. We've got all the top Survivor workouts. We're talking the idle search, the sit-out bench balance, and of course, the bad strategy eye roll. Nothing gets your eyeballs moving like someone suggesting an alliance you don't agree with.
So, Mike, when they're working on the Survivor workout, the eye roll is we're gonna go. That's gonna be the one of the key points.
Well, first off, now we know where Jeff got that voice from because it's clear that he's doing the VO for this, right? Here we are doing the Survivor workout. Yeah, I mean, listen. Actually, let me drop.
There's still a minute and 15 seconds of this video.
Well, can I drop a truth bomb here, Rob?
Please.
I know the person who made this video.
You do?
Yeah.
What is it?
He is a friend of mine.
Yes.
I will not reveal his name just because I do not want to. I want to ask his consent before revealing it. But he is somebody. He's not like Mick Broom. It's not me with the mustache. No, he's a friend that I did improv with for quite some time in New York. He is a comedy writer. He texted me at the beginning of the season being like, oh, I'm working on your favorite show, and has sort of like, this was his first access point to
And you were like,
Survivor.
Beyond the Edge?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I can't wait for you to interact. Tell Meta I said hi. Tell him Orwell says hi. But, I want to... it's interesting because like he has been behind, people usually, umbrella blame like, oh, stupid CBS interns, but like there is a legitimate guy who is working on this the entire season. He made this, he made last week's one of like the animal opening credits for Survivor. So yeah,
it's like the Adult Swim of Survivor.
Yeah. Exactly. Rick and Morty-esque. Xander, I turned myself into a pickle. Eat me. Xander candy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
keep
know
his mouth is watering.
Oh boy. So yeah, I know the guy who ended up creating this video, which is so odd to talk about it on a podcast.
Do you want to hear more?
Oh, please. Yes.
Okay.
Now we know what you're thinking. Hey, wouldn't it make more sense to base our workout on some of the physical challenges? To that we say, how basic. How rude. It can be hard to stay motivated. That's why we're helping fans stay on their game with the ultimate instructor, Jeff Rose. With Jeff encouraging you to keep going, there's no way you can give up. Just listen as Jeff turns up the heat on some of our favorite workouts.
You gotta dig deep.
It's stressful as hell.
The Survivor method delivers results. Just look. And now for season 41, we're including our special tribal council package. We've got the ominous voting walk, the no way head shake, and of course, the hurry up and huddle. And if you sign up now, we'll throw in a free gift for you.
What is it?
Ultimate Survivor meal plan.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I'll also say, I think probably people's least favorite exercise is the hurry up and huddle, right? Real fans really hate when they do
You do
that.
get in a lot of steps at Tribal Council these days.
Yeah, apparently. Just really, maybe that's why they do it, is they just want to get their cardio, their heart rate up.
The cardio. Yeah. Okay. All right. Tiffany weighed in. To anybody who's thinking any differently, Tiffany says, just to be clear, my constant look of disgust on the jury is probably just extreme jealousy that I'm not on that side. LOL, carry on. Hashtag Survivor 41, hashtag Survivor, hashtag Baruch Hashem, hashtag Ponderosa, hashtag Beetle, hashtag Survivor, CBS Survivor, hashtag Paramount Plus.
I can't remember. Has it been discussed yet, Tiffany's overabundant use of hashtags?
No, not by me.
I love it so much. It is very much like Tiffany has admitted herself she is not a master of social media. And so I think it is absolutely adorable that she has now claimed, Hebrew sayings.
Yeah, well, I clicked on the Baruch Hashem hashtag, and it's all Tiffany tweets.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad she's branded it now. Can't wait for those T-shirts to come out for her to be Tiffy Fairplay in that regard. I also love hashtag Beetle. I imagine if you click that, it's a lot of get back tweets. I'm assuming.
No, it's BEETLE.
Well, some people are notorious heinous spellers, but I love this. I just love this idea of somebody like Tiffany is essentially doing what we did with famous Survivor moments, but famous Tiffany moments, and turning them into hashtags that she is just like, I don't know, almost like George Costanza style, like stuffing her tweet wallet full of these needless receipts of like, Baruch Hashem has nothing to do with it, but like I might need it for later. The sugar packet of Beetle. Yeah, remember that thing? Sure, I'm going to put that in here as well. There are only so many characters, Tiff. I appreciate the messaging that you're putting out there, but it is an amazing incorrect use of social media.
All right, last night, Deshawn brought up Gabby. He said that he quoted Gabby. This was not a super memorable Gabby quote in my mind.
This is like a hipster Gabby quote of like, you had to be there to remember it. I mean, I remember in the preseason talks that I did, Deshawn had said that David versus Goliath was like his favorite season, really rang recent in his head. So I guess he had Gabby on the brain, as many Netflix subscribers do. But yeah, what a pull, man. Not just of Gabby, but of that.
I don't even remember when she said that.
I guess it would be after she was voted out, right? Because like it's almost like that, hey, at least I gave it a shot. Almost like a version of Adam Klein's Worth a Try, always. Hers is, I got a lot of gumption.
I'm a huge Gabby fan. I didn't have that as a quote.
I didn't realize Gabby was talking like old Xander there too. I don't know who uses the word gumption, who Who doesn't have an AARP card.
So Gabby tweeted, Deshawn, you have been playing with gumption. I love a player with chaotic good energy. Plus, anyone old enough to ask Jeff for love letters and call it the dumb twist is truly the voice of the people. #Survivor. But also remember, ... I went home at the Tribal Council. I said I was playing with gumption. Ha ha ha. Not all Gumpty moves are right ones, but they are entertaining. So thank you for that. Like I said, chaotic good.
Is Gumpty a word? I'm Gumpty, damn it.
Do the Gumpty dance.
I'm Gumpty, damn it. That's what I'm being tonight. Yeah, I didn't realize that, like, are you full of Gump going all the way back to the very first box of chocolates reference we made? That is wait, is that Deshawn's plan? Like, is he straight up gumping it? He's just going to keep running and eventually he'll get to his destination here?
Wow. This is he partnered with Danny.
Right.
Check.
And there's this idea that that Forrest Gump's sort of like ass backwards into things.
Yeah. He sort of ping-ponged his way around.
Mm-hmm. He talked about peas and carrots. That's some of Xander's favorite sweet treats.
Mm-hmm. Went to a tropical locale.
Mm-hmm. Got involved with a beetle. So did Tiffany.
Kind of, got shot in the butt.
And like I said, he showed his whole ass to the jury last night. So I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Loves his mother.
Yeah. Wants to get letters from home. So, okay.
Could be like, he felt like on Luvu, right? He sort of like had braces on his legs and like he couldn't really take off and do anything, but like he tried to throw that challenge, so they finally fell off and he felt like he could play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. We're not seeing the forest for the trees, but I think it's an interesting comparison. He's got a lot of gumption no matter what.
Yeah. Well, he's learning to be a foot doctor. Forrest had a lot of issues with his feet growing up. Yeah.
And he did put his foot in his mouth this past episode as well. I did love that, by the way. Like, again, this is what I love about Deshawn is he really wears his heart on his sleeve. And the eye roll that he gave, worthy of the Jeff Probst workout in response to what it was a tie vote of him essentially having that energy of, can we just go home? Like, can we just get this over with? I want to dig into an Outlast lobster pronto.
Deshawn has had a good sense of humor. He put out an Instagram poll on his Instagram, Dr. D-Rad. How dumb was that truth bomb? Of Deshawn's Instagram followers, what percent voted dumb as hell? And what percent? And then the other percent, there was two options: dumb as hell or dumb.
Oh, okay. It's like Dumb and Dumber, dumb and dumb as hell.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say dumb as hell, which is the more vitriolic option. The internet can be cruel. It can be kind, but it can be cruel and cruel to be kind. I'm going to say 75%. A nice 3-to-1 ratio.
There you go. All right. Then Ricard posted about some pizza. Okay. Ricard tweeted a picture of some new pizza, presumably. He said, a lot of people ask how the Survivor pizza tasted. Look, I have the worst taste in pizza, so don't ask me. Gluten-free, light sauce, no cheese, pineapple jalapeno. I'm out of control. Next, I'm going to be throwing rice in the fire. That's Ricard's pizza order?
This is Xander candy.
Yeah, that's Ricard candy.
Ricard candy.
I think I'm sending it personally back to the supplier. Yeah, I mean, listen, looking at this, it's, you know what? He has better taste in allies than he does in pizza, perhaps.
Gluten-free, light sauce, no cheese, pineapple jalapeno. Is this still pizza, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, what is your question? Does it have, if it doesn't have cheese, it's still pizza?
I mean, yeah, that's a question.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what's the difference?
What's the definition of pizza? This is toast.
Yeah, or is this a flatbread? Like a round flatbread with fruit on it? I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, is cheese an essential component of pizza? I guess I would say no. I feel like there are such things as vegan pizza, but it has to use vegan cheese.
But then you have to have a type of cheese product, no?
Yeah, I would imagine Ricard's like, you know
Like
what?
I'm willing to bend on like some sort of like vegan cheese. Okay, fine. But I think that cheese is still a essential component.
All right, we've got a choice for you. You get pepperoni pizza or you get plain cheese. I prefer meat bread if you could. It's just sauce on bread.
Yeah.
A couple of pieces of fruit.
I think that bread, sauce, cheese. I think that those are the essential ingredients. I mean, you could lose the sauce. I think at that point you're
First 5 to finish. Win.
I think you're just getting
playing for.
Yes.
Grilled cheese back again.
Oh.
Yeah, that's essentially what it is. And
Yeah,
then
but
people have
this
to
is
suffer from the smell of cheese and bread back at camp is sort of the penance that they have to suffer. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm looking it up right now. I guess there's a term for it called red pizza, and when it doesn't have cheese, but it just feels so unholy to me. It just feels so, I don't know, sinful to do. And maybe that's a bit of the danger as well. Like, how dangerous are you?
He's the bad boy of pizza.
I order my pizza without cheese.
Yeah. All right. Then drop the cheese. Keep the bread and sauce.
That's what he says to the Domino's person, right? Like, the monster's coming, and this monster is a hell of a picky order.
This monster is my order. All right. Let's see. All right, Mike. I think I've only got one other one to do here. Let me just go back and make sure we didn't miss anything. I have in our notes from our talk before the show. You want to talk about editing theories? Did we cover that?
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about this. I'm going to throw something fun out here.
Yeah.
Because, look, I hang my hat, my own cowboy hat, on two things that predicates what I enjoy in a Survivor season, and that is cast and that is editing. And it is talked about voluminously over the course of this season how good the editing has been, and I cannot agree more. To the point,
good?
How good? Is that what Stephanie is going to say at the reward that she wins on Beyond the Edge?
Yeah.
when she wins a trip to the cheese shop, how gooda? It works. But something that I really enjoyed about this is we have
the Gouda game within the game is available at Ponderosa.
Yeah, a lot of holes like Swiss cheese. You had to look through it to find the letters. Remember that Survivor challenge? So there was a challenge in Survivor token chains where they had to look through the holes in the wood to find the letters. So I loved last night that we legitimately did not know Danny had an idol until he confirmed it, to the point where they had a fantastic moment with the editors. I don't know if you noticed, Rob, in the lower third. Did you notice that?
No.
So there was a moment where Danny's giving a confessional, and in the lower third, it said immunity idol with a question mark at the end. They straight up shepherded Danny with his idol find. It was very fun, but it's really great because of the use of flashbacks, showing things in a non-chronological order. It really does keep us in suspense, right? Because I think otherwise, in any other season, we would say, oh, okay, well, we know Danny didn't find an idol because we would have seen it. This actually floats something out to keep us in the lurch, which I really like because it keeps our expectations buoyed. But what I would say overall is, on the whole, I have realized that with past Survivor seasons, modern Survivor seasons, let's say starting with season 33, that the storytelling of Survivor seasons, in terms of quality, works almost in the opposite way that the Star Trek movies do.
Okay.
I believe on a fundamental level that modern day Survivor seasons, the odd numbers have straightforward, very easy to tell stories where you kind of get to know everybody and what's happening. And the even numbers are more confusing, all over the place, more fluctuating edits.
Okay, interesting. What do you think is the reason for that? Is that because that the first season back after the hiatus, the editors are like rested and ready, and then it's sort of like they have like a senioritis by the end of a year of editing Survivor?
Yeah, so much like you speculated with the twists, right? That like they essentially used up all their good resources in the first season. Yeah, I'm not sure, but just like, so the more I think about it, right? Like, so Millennials versus Gen X, Heroes, Healers, Hustlers, David versus Goliath, Island of the Idols, 41. I think what they all have in common is that I think they all have like, we could tell what's going on at pretty much all times. Now, again, I'm not going to say that the rule applies to all. Like 41, there was some confusion around the Tiffany boot, for example. There was some stuff unexplained, like why Shan used the extra vote during the Nasir vote very smartly. So it's not like a one-size-fits-all thing. But I would say in general, these are stories that are told effectively. I think they highlight more of the cast overall. And I think they produce some very fun moments, as opposed to the even number seasons, Game Changers, Ghost Island, Edge of Extinction, Winners at War. While Winners at War is a high quality season, I know I personally found myself confused at some of the results of the episodes because of the way the stories were being told. It often felt like things were changing so much episode to episode that I wasn't necessarily sure what was happening. I could look at a voting chart at some of those even number seasons and be like, why the hell did Kellen go out in a tie vote, and not remember why? But I could look at David versus Goliath, for example, and see a story behind each one of those votes. And I have no idea why this is a thing, but this is a trend that I've noticed, including 41.
It's an interesting theory. I think there are points to support your theory. That I could throw out some odd numbered seasons that are not necessarily fitting in the rubric of
go ahead.
39, 35.
I think 35 had, say what you want to about like the beginning and end game. I think it had some fairly strong editing though. Like I think we forget there was a good chunk in the middle where it was a strong season. I feel like that was a cast we really got to know. I feel like there wasn't really anything that made me, and maybe my barometer is just how stupid I am and how confused I get with votes in retrospect. I feel like 35 did not confuse me to the level of things like Ghost Island and Edge of Extinction did, where I look at that vote and I'm like, wait, what happened? Why did they vote that way? What's going on in this episode?
Yeah, I also think that it might just speak to, they do 2 seasons at once and or like 2 seasons in a short amount of time. And I think it might speak to the idea of like, well, we've got, a couple ideas. We know this is the good one. Like, we're not sure what the second idea we're going to do is. Let's figure it out. But we know this one is gold. Let's do this one. Like, we've got 50 different people. Like, all right, let's these are the good people. Let's put them in there. And then I wonder if like the second season they do is sort of like not the best ideas, not necessarily like the top casting choices that they had. So like I kind of feel like that maybe they get there like all the best stuff is like they're rested, they're ready to go, and then maybe the second time, but this in season 41, maybe they had too much stuff they tried to jam in.
It's an interesting point. Like, I guess the more I think about it, the more it is weird to plan out 2 seasons at once. And again, it might be coincidental that I mean no disrespect whatsoever to the cast of seasons 36 and 38, but I would say that seasons 35 and 37 had the better cast when you compare that 2-season cycle. It's really interesting. And what does that say about 42? I have absolutely no clue. My hope is that, I think in many ways, this is something that continues, the new ways to tell stories with both personal, strategic, and story content. But now part of me looks to this trend and I'm like, what are we in store for?
Yeah, I think that this is a little bit different. I mean, they had 2 years to get ready for this, so I think that there was no shortage of people so I would expect the strong cast. I think that maybe like it might have like the right balance of like all the different twists and whatnot. So we'll see what happens with 42 and see if Mike Bloom's bizarro Star Trek movie theory sticks.
Yeah, rolls trippingly off the tongue. One other thing that I wanted to bring up, just sort of like potpourri, the garbage plate, as you were, is going back.
Nick Tahoes.
Yeah, exactly.
I just said that Nick Tahoes.
Is that a name of a Ponderosa menu item? The Nick Wilson Tahoes. Going back to the conversation around getting rid of Ricard, to the Ricard of it all, I really loved, for lack of a better term, I kind of loved Erika and Heather shutting Danny and Deshawn down. Because I could understand, and arguments were certainly made last week, understandably so, why getting rid of Ricard over Liana could have been a good idea for certain people. But I only have a couple of pet peeves when it comes to watching people play Survivor. And one of them is if someone says that someone else does not deserve to be there or deserve to win. And the other one is if you make like a declaration that someone isn't playing the game or is making bad decisions. Because to me, and Heather, I think, vocalized it so well, it is all incredibly subjective. And I'll admit, as much as I like Danny and Deshawn, I was kind of a little peeved that they come in being like, I can't believe these idiots didn't get rid of Ricard. These are some dum-dums. And then they come into tribal council and do it when it's like, hey, the alternative was that they let your alliance of 3 survive to the final 6 and make it to the end.
Mm-hmm.
So what it really reeks to me is less so you're making a move that, you know, is gonna send your game to the toilet, and more so reeking of you didn't do the thing we wanted you to do and we're angry about it. And I think that's much more the way that it came across. And I think what Heather and Erika vocalize is just a good reminder that subjectivity is the name of the game in Survivor. Good moves and bad moves are perceived differently by different players. And so I'm glad that they got called out on that, because I do think it was a bit of BS that Danny and Deshawn were essentially vocalizing because you didn't do what we wanted to do. It was a bad move.
Mike, I have one last thing to bring up for you here. Okay.
All right. Let's do
so we talked about Screen Rant. We're gonna go back to the well on Screen Rant.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't realize we'd be visiting that.
So much.
Already
Look,
thirsty,
they had Boston Rob is leaving his podcast to go be on Celebrity Big Brother. Okay. So they've got a lot of news. This time, another writer at Screen Rant, Eric Eldridge on the Survivor beat,
okay,
has posted an article as of 2 days ago. Survivor, rumors suggest Xander and Lauren O'Connell are dating.
What?
Survivor 41 contestant may be dating Survivor alum Lauren O'Connell, according to a cryptic social media post decoded by one Reddit user. Is this the game within the game?
This is the true thing. If you unscramble the letters, you find Lauren and Xander sitting in a tree where the trees dance. Rob, that's where the trees dance. The treasure is hanging. It is Lauren and Xander sitting in a tree. That is the treasure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The true treasure is love. It was love all along. It was right in front of our faces. Yeah. So this might be a thing that Xander, obviously likes to, he's a man who works with his heart. And I think he is open to sharing that heart with someone. And in that case, that might be Lauren O'Connell. Look, they have a lot in common. They were incredibly young on their season. They both have problems with idols. Lauren was misplaying hers. Xander's might be misplacing his in his colon. I think that I'm not sure what Xander's feelings on Kelly Wentworth are, but I'm assuming he's
I think positive.
Yeah. I think
he's not a lunatic.
Yeah, exactly. He's not a maniac. He doesn't hate Kelly Wentworth. He loves that Consumer Cellular commercial that we watched last night. So, yeah, you know what? I ship it. And look, actually, Lauren Alexander's nickname is Lolly, and we know Xander loves his candy.
Yeah.
This is Xander candy.
Yeah. So is New
Xander, definition.
Is a lolly like a meat lollipop for Xander? Like, oh, yes, a nice rump roast.
No, don't say that. I think that look, this is rumored. Who knows what's out there? But there is some evidence pointing in this direction.
Oh,
yes,
it's got to happen because their ship name is definitely Launder.
Launder.
Because they come out clean as a whistle.
Clean as whistle. Former B&B guest Lauren O'Connell and Xander Hastings.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm shipping them out. I'm washing it.
Yeah. The sort of like rumor mill got started because that apparently that they both had the same background in their of a Chicago River, according to this article, and people on Reddit were seemed to pinpoint that they were in the same spot. On Tuesday, Lauren O'Connell tweeted, Jeff Probst works hard. Survivor Reddit works harder, seemingly pointing to it. And then, Mike, check out this exchange that happened the other night. Josh Canfield of the season 29 of Survivor said, wait, how is no one concerned with Xander and his idol? Lauren O'Connell tweeted, right. Is there something they're not telling us? Is Chris coming back from the edge? Question mark, question mark, question mark. And the War Dog weighed in and said, is there something you are not telling us, Lolly?
Oh, War Dog coming out to grill his cast member from 3 years ago. Okay, War Dog. War Dog thinks Lolly's got something unlocked behind a war chest. Let me also just say to the person who unlocked that, submit an application with the FBI because that is like incredible investigatorial work.
Yeah. So, all right. We'll see. We'll see if love is blossoming, Mike.
Oh, could that be something? Does Xander propose to Lauren O'Connell on Zoom if he wins the game on Wednesday?
Proposal. Boy. I mean, I don't know. That'd be very exciting.
Some people say weddings are just funerals saying hi.
Yeah. Will you take this engagement ring? No, but you could have this fake engagement ring.
Yeah, exactly. It's a ring pop. Hashtag Xander candy.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll see what's cooking up if Xander is dreaming of anything besides stew.
Yeah, exactly. And does the sight of him make her faint? Is that how head over heels Lauren is for Xander at this point?
Okay. All right. So that's exciting. So kudos to Xander and Lauren O'Connell. Maybe. We'll see.
Listen, I'm here for Launder. I want to hang it out and make it happen.
Look, it would not be the first time that Jeff is like, oh, well, hold on. We have some Survivor alumni that are together. It happened with Mary and Rhino and David Murphy and Carolina.
Please don't invoke that comparison.
It happens. These Survivor alumni get together.
That's like saying, yeah, there are plenty of blimp rides out there. Like the Hindenburg. Yeah, that's one of those. Like, don't compare it to that. That's the worst direction it could go in.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, Mike, is there anything else we didn't cover? 3.5 hours.
3.5 hours.
Flew by.
It really did. Much like that bird, much like the season in general, Rob, it has flown by. The holiday season is upon us, and I hope we get a nice nifty gifty in the form of like a season 41 finale.
Yes, a nifty gifty.
In our chimney. Yeah, I'm excited for it. And like before you know it, Rob, we're going to be back together probably in a couple months' time.
We are?
To start the cycle again.
I think I say to watch The Amazing Race.
Well, we're gonna do that. We said, did you see the preview for it last night?
No, I think I saw it. Phil had a good haircut. I was like, oh boy, Phil's hair looks great.
Yeah, he says, don't touch the hair, huh? Is that a good New Zealand Uncle Jess? Rattle your dags, huh?
Wow.
I don't think I can return for the Toughest Nails podcast. Like I have a self-imposed ban.
Yes. All right. Mike, what is coming up for you?
I think it was just a generally good question. So I talked about this Danny exit interview. As I mentioned before, we spoke about it briefly, but really some great stuff. If you want to find out about Danny's, I would say underrated game, especially about his time on Luvu, some of those relationships that he cultivated, and the reason why, Tiffany says on the way out, like, oh man, I'm going to miss him. I didn't want him to go. Be sure to check it out. Danny's just like a really awesome, solid dude to talk with. And I'm excited to hopefully talk with the other 5 contestants as they're voted off next week as well in whatever mishmash we're getting in the 3 hours. Rob and I will be putting out, I don't know if it'll be Wednesday night or Thursday. We haven't received that information yet, but hopefully we'll do the deep dives after the deep dive, as it were. Also, as I mentioned before, hopefully we'll have an interview with Jeff Probst himself coming out maybe at the beginning of next week, previewing the finale and whatever might be in store and whether the treasure truly hangs where the trees dance in love or whatever we ended up coming up with there. So that's all
I'm
going
gonna text
on.
that to Nicole.
Yeah, just see what emoji she responds with. And then of course, the B&B is happening. I'll be making my return there next week with Liana, and we're gonna finish where you started, Rob. We're bringing Chappelle on.
Oh, nice.
Finish things off. I'm sure he's going to have a lot of thoughts about the end of the season. I think we're certainly going to check back in on the predictions that we made preseason and talk about maybe some other stuff that changed throughout the season. We'll certainly talk about rating the season. By the way, let's invoke Dalton Ross's name once more. He did his semi-annual season rankings. 41 comes in. Actually, let's make this a game. Guess what number season 41 is at right now.
I'm gonna say Dalton Ross said it was I'll say top half, not top 10. I'm gonna say that he thought it was 14.
All right. Well, Xander is a gambler, and so is Dalton Ross. He put it on 21. 41. Yeah, listen, I'm not going to yuck anyone's yum. I think it's a little low. I think that this has certainly been an overly positive season. I think depending on your thoughts about the twists and the way production runs might knock it down. But I think it's tough to put it in like the grand pantheon of things. But I think certainly comparing it to a lot of modern Survivor seasons, I think it is top half at least. If I look at like the past 10 seasons, I think it's definitely at least top half.
I mean, certainly in the last 10, I think it'd be in the top half. The thing is, when we did our rankings over the course of 2021, there's a lot of good seasons, and it's hard to bump some of these other seasons. I guess we have to see, how this ultimately plays out. I know that the Dalton Ross will move things up or down a little bit after the finale. So it was a season of, there were high highs. There were, some swings and misses. Yeah, Malolos. So I'd have to take a look at the overall season rankings, but it's there's so many classic seasons.
I know it's tough when you compare it in the pantheon of things because there's so many good seasons, but I think that's why I'm saying let's just widen the scope a little bit. And I think if I looked past, I think there was a lot of concern coming out of Winners at War as the direction of the show. I don't know if those concerns were just completely reversed, but I think things are going in a good direction, at least.
I mean, there were definitely things that went well, and other things that it's that the show went it creatively in some directions that you feel okay, I don't know if this is necessarily the way that the show should be going, or if we're just being fuddy-duddies like Xander. We'll see.
Yeah, but I think overall, just what has, again, one of the reasons why I've been really enjoying it is because my enjoyment of the season is, once again, entirely hangs on a cast, and what a group of people. Christian talked infamously in one of his Ponderosa videos about how variance is essential for a game of Survivor, and I think the show needs to remember that the variance does not need to be created by game mechanics. Variance naturally exists in people. That is the entire onus of Survivor since May 31st, 2000, is that you can have the same format, and the things that change are the people that you bring in, their personalities, their histories, their strategies, etc. And I think this cast has shown that they can be given some things and they can hit the ground and run with it and create their own mess and create their own beauty and create their own show. And so that really makes me feel like things are in good hands in that regard. And so that has made me, and Ricard, and that has made me just very happy with this overall. I'm really going to miss it, after these next 3 hours, but I'm happy to move on to another group as well.
This is the good news, Mike. We got more Survivor coming up in
we got more Survivor.
3 months. It's not like we have to wait 2 years after the last season.
Exactly. So I'm so, pity towards,
it wasn't 2 years. We had to wait 18 months, but
towards the Mike and Rob that had to wait 18 months, and we're doing all those Outlist podcasts. So Survivor, that stuff, parade.com, B&B. Over on post-show recaps, holy moly, we have so much going on.
You're covering holy moly?
Yes, exactly. The mini golf show that I'm not sure is still on the air. We've got it covered.
It was it was on in the summer, and it was called Holy Moly 3D and 2D.
What? What's this 2010? Why are we invested in 3D technology?
I don't know.
So there is. To say there's so much stuff going on in post-show recaps is an understatement. Now, this is where Josh Wigler temporarily possesses my body to schlep out and chill out for post-show recaps. We're covering the entire HBO Sunday night slate. We've got fantasy covered with the Wheel of Time. So as you mentioned at the beginning, Lost Down the Hatch is coming to an end. Rob, we covered the anti-penultimate episode of the show. We covered The Candidate, a particularly brutal episode. Talk about truth bombs. A bomb is the central focus of this episode. And so also, oddly enough, aired on May 4th, which is, I think Danny said, was the anniversary of his father's death, was like the day that really triggered it. Also, interestingly, the birth date of my son.
I was gonna mention that to you. I noticed that when he talked about that in his exit interview with you. He talked about May the 4th, and I remember when Asher was born that was May the 4th.
Yeah, I did restrict myself to not say I like what you said about May the 4th. But it's interesting. Like it's odd to get super holistically here at 3.5+ hours in, but like it really does show to me the whole, to use a lost term, like the life and death of it all, of like one life being snuffed out and one being born anew on the same day, is just like it's a wild thing to think about. But all that being said, Lost is coming to an end. That is incredibly huge. That is a project that Josh and I have been working for 2+ years on. We have invested hours and hundreds of hours of stupid bits of our time into covering the show. I don't know how to feel about it. So it's coming to a conclusion at the end of December. I'll say episodic coverage of Down the Hatch is coming to an end. We're going into a new era of Down the Hatch, perhaps, come 2022.
Drop the 4, keep the 1.
Exactly. Keep the 815.
Yeah, drop.
So yeah, we're going to be covering Lost in that place. Of course, my wife and I, Angela, are doing a podcast called The Bloom Files, which is also slowly reaching its conclusion. We're in the second to last season, where she loves the X-Files. It's her favorite show of all time. I have never seen it before, and so we come at it from 2 different angles. But we're taking a step out of sci-fi and taking a dip into fantasy. I'm very excited to announce The Witcher is coming to Netflix season 2, December 17th, 2 days after Survivor. And myself and my wife, Angela Bloom, will be covering it. Angela is a massive fan of fantasy and loves The Witcher to death, including all the death behind it. And so she got me into the show. And so we're going to be covering it on an episodic basis. We're going to be doing an interesting format for the podcast. We're going to be doing a section that is just a spoiler-free recap of the episode proper. And then for you bingers out there who love to devour your Zandy candy by the handful, then we'll do a section of like, okay, we've watched the entire season. Now looking back on this episode, what does it mean? So we hope to sort of like encapsulate both the one at a time people and the entire and the bingers, because Netflix is weird like that. So covering that with Angela, that's going to take us through January and February. And some other stuff as well to come from post-show recaps. You know, you might look to the stars, might look to more fantasy, but I have plenty more to come, as well as some various appearances here and there in the reality TV sphere.
All right. Well,
Amazing Race. We should also mention that's
the Amazing Race coming back January 5th. January 5th.
Yeah, January 5th. And we should also mention that I'm assuming a cast will be out at some point, and we'll probably do some sort of
a draft or something like that. Yeah.
And I think people asked us about some Tough as Nails follow up. I think we're trying to sort of get the pieces together on that to reassemble the Savage crew. And we should also mention, Rob, I think you and I might be batting an idea back and forth about possible end of the year Brent Steele ideas. Won't cement it, but I will etch it in clay, as it were.
Yes, to keep the tough as nails, blue collar construction metaphors going.
Yes, exactly. Go Cowboys.
Go Cowboys. All right. We still have a lot to do. Domenick Abbate is coming up, plus all of the other great Survivor podcasts that we have for you, including catch the B&B without Bloom this week. It's double
Drop
date
the B,
week.
keep the B.
Yeah, it's double date week as Liana and Puya are going to be getting together with Jenny Autumn and Phil T, plus YX Lost, Survivor Global, the Stock Watch, the Purple Pants podcast. Jamal is going to be joining Bryson Wendell this week to talk about the episode. So we've got all of that. And speaking of all of that, I'll be covering Snick Shows Are Trash on Robin Akiva Need a Podcast this week. Sarah Ferguson and Chappelle will join us to talk about
amazing
Snick Shows Are Trash.
I grew up on that orange couch, so I'm so excited to hear about that.
It's the big orange couch, and it's big, and it's orange, and it's big. Yeah.
Well, I think, BOC, I think means something very different.
We don't need to explore that.
Yeah, we've been edging too much already.
Okay. All right. Mike, should we give a hashtag for a supersized longest feedback show of the season?
Yeah, I don't know. Do we do like I don't know,
Zandy Candy?
Zandy Wonka, perhaps?
Zandy Wonka? Okay, fine. Nobody else is tweeting out. Or Baruch Hashem.
Yeah, I would say Tiffany, do not take that hashtag, please. It's not appropriate. Zandy Wonka. This is all we have, Tiffany.
Yeah. Okay. Zandy Wonka it is. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Love to hear from everybody who made it this far into the podcast.
It really does mean the world. Like, we are chattering idiots at this point about a show that we absolutely love. I had such a great time doing this, and I hope people did.
And we probably only talked for 45 minutes before we started the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So a 4.5 hour expedition overall. Yes. It's nearly the length of the finale, so it's a good simulation.
Yes. Okay. It was a deep dive in every way. All right.
Actually, if you sync this up with the finale, I'm pretty sure it'll match up.
That's right. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.